Hello and welcome back to the Good Stories Podcast. I'm Jody here with Stephen, and I'm excited to get into another story today. And every single story and episode we've done feels different, and it's true yet again. This is an old favorite. I remember recommending it to a friend when we were kids, and she asked me, "What is it about?" And I truthfully told her, "Well, it's a book about bunnies," which doesn't sound great. And she looked at me like I was crazy. But for some reason, she read it anyways, loved it, and told me later, "Actually, you were right. It totally is a book about bunnies." But it is about so much more than that. It's called Watership Down. And to me, this is a world creation book where the author, Richard Adams, he creates a completely new and unexpected world for us to enjoy and a look into an entirely different way of thinking. And it's all set around a group of animals, and yes, they are indeed bunnies. But you do grow to love them as you get to know them. They have fears and problems and lots of big enemies that like to eat them, sure. But did you know that bunnies have their own language? It's called Lapine. And beliefs, and they have stories. They also have roles, and each one has different strengths and weaknesses, and I can't recommend it enough. So, time for a story.
Hazel and Fiver are brothers. They are also rabbits. Hazel has learned to trust his brother's unusual premonitions, so when Fiver tells him they must leave the warren, he believes him. Unfortunately, he is unable to convince the leader of the warren, so Hazel and a small group of rabbits must escape on their own. The rabbits then undertake an epic journey across country to find a home where they can be safe and happy. Along the way, they face many dangers, gather new friends, and learn each other's strengths and weaknesses. Finally, they build a new home high on Watership Down. Once settled, they realize the community is doomed unless they can find some female rabbits to join them and build the colony. They send a delegation to a nearby warren requesting aid, but that warren is a dystopian nightmare, controlled by the fearful General Woundwort. The delegation is lucky to escape with their lives. Hazel has Bigwig, a brave and strong rabbit, infiltrate the warren, and by means of a daring raid they rescue a number of female rabbits to join them. Things only grow more dangerous when General Woundwort leads a band in retaliation to destroy Hazel's home. Hazel and his friends must use all of their skill and courage to defend their home and drive off the enemy.
So this, I think, has been around a long time for us. When did you read this book?
Grade school.
Yeah.
I cannot remember exactly when I did, but I remember the sense of reading this. Because again, it's a book about rabbits, but it's so much more. And I want to say you almost forget they're rabbits.
You do. I was just telling someone that. They're very human.
But at the same time, you never forget they're rabbits because they're always doing rabbity things with rabbity problems and rabbity stories. World building is absolutely what this is, and it's wonderful. This is one of those stories that I always know I love, but every time I read it, I'm always surprised by how much I love it again. I always read the end in a rush. I always find myself up late at the end of this because, well, I can't stop there. I mean, it really is just a fascinating book.
It's a page turner about bunnies. But you're totally right. He makes this world. It's called, I learned, animal fiction. So Richard Adams, I think he kind of made the category to begin with. So he was 1920s born, studied modern history at Oxford, which is just awesome. But yeah, he was a civil servant until he started writing. Later in life. And he came up with this. He wrote other things, but this was his beginning to writing. I love it. I love every chapter has some epic quote from other literature. And there's Shakespeare, there's Aeschylus, there's Plato. He was clearly a very well-read man, and he integrates these things into this story about bunnies.
Yeah. There is also Ronald Lockley from The Private Life of the Rabbit, which apparently is where he learned all of his rabbit lore. I looked into that book a little bit. I didn't have time to read the whole book, but I read a lot of commentary and quotes on it. And yeah, it's a book about rabbits. This guy back in the 1950s, I think, basically put a glass wall against a rabbit warren and studied them. So it's really quite zoological. But as part of that, he found personalities within the rabbits within the warren, and he gave them names. And this is one of the books that Adams read, and it really influenced what he did with the story.
Yeah, and you can tell it as you say, you don't forget that they're bunnies, but they're almost human inside of a rabbit context. And that sounds so strange,
Yeah.
but you should just read it. It is wonderfully done.
And it wouldn't be near as good if it lacked either of those.
Yes.
Because if this was just a story about humans, it wouldn't be as charming if it didn't have the bunny aspect to it. But on the flip side, if it was just a story about bunnies, I'd be kind of bored with it. It has to have that epic individualist feel that the characters just jump out. And the way he made this is he kept both aspects of it strong, and it really works.
Yeah, so you've probably heard this too, that it's described as a rabbit adventure, an epic tale. In it, he references Odysseus, but I think it's actually not the Odyssey. It is the other one.
It is more closely linked, I believe, to the Aeneid.
There you go.
But even then, with both of them, there's variations. So the Odyssey is a huge player in this because rabbits are wily. They're tricksters. The main rabbit deity, if you will, or leader is a trickster. It's what he does. And so that absolutely fits in with Odysseus and his tale. But the Odyssey, by definition, is a journey home. He always knows where he's going, and it's a journey back home. This is a journey from a destroyed home to establish and make a new one. And so in that overarching way, that's far more the Aeneid than it is the Odyssey. But again, there's flavor of both of them throughout it.
Yeah, I love this. It started as an improvised car trip story for his daughters. And you can kind of feel that at the beginning. The chapters are very short. It's very incremental as they go. And then it does change in tone and flavor throughout the book. And by the end, it is a page turner.
Yes.
I mean, you cannot stop. It's very exciting. I think it was his daughters that convinced him to turn it into a manuscript because he was not a writer. He was not an author. And then it was rejected a lot until I read he found a small publisher called Rex Collings that, quote, said, "I've got nothing else to publish right now, so why not?" And then it became this surprise hit. I mean, it won huge awards, the Carnegie Medal and I hadn't heard of this one, the Guardian Children's Fiction Prize. But this is another story where he said he wasn't writing for children.
Mm-hmm.
He just wrote a book.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that a thing? It's a thing over and over again with these authors we talk about, where they're considered children's literature now to some extent, but adults love them too. And the authors say, yeah, I wasn't really writing for kids.
I think it's because people who talk about children's literature, and not all of them, but many of them tend to forget that children are actually little humans, that they like the things that human beings like. And so when you try and dumb something down, I mean, we've all experienced this when we were kids, and even people that interact with kids, talk with them. They're people. And so I think that's the idea behind this, is that these great writers aren't writing books that they think someone will like. They're writing something that they love, that they think is good. And then little people like it as well as big people.
I think partially it's children's literature because it's charming. It's so charming. And there isn't huge diabolical evil, but there is good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
There are sides. And they are clear, which is nice. There's not a lot of gray area.
It's helpful.
Which, yes, I prefer that actually. But there is another book called The Traveler that came out in 1988 by Richard Adams. And I haven't read this, but I want to. It's now on my, what do they call it? TBR, my to be read list. The story is told by the horse of General Robert E. Lee. Talking about the Civil War through the eyes of his horse.
His horse's name was Traveler, so that makes sense. Yeah.
So that one I will read, and maybe we'll talk about someday. I don't know.
I guess I just have one more thing to mention before we start the story itself. Richard Adams, as I was reading, was a soldier in World War II. So, and a lot of his inspiration for some of the more militant parts about this, I was reading he got from something called Operation Market Garden. So World War II fans will be familiar with this one. Fans is the wrong word. People who study World War II.
Better.
Yeah. So this was a British operation, and German occupied the Netherlands. And the idea behind Market Garden was it was both air and land sort of thing. But I don't think it's so much that this book takes direct what happened in that operation and turns it into a story. I think it's more some of the people he served with and he saw influence the way he describes some of these characters, and particularly the way he describes kind of leadership and friendship among the characters. And so as a veteran myself, I just think it's of value to honor veterans of the past, especially that served with the Allies in World War II. So I just want to read the names of the people that I saw he listed for the two, well, my favorite characters in the book, Hazel and Bigwig. Hazel apparently was based off of Major John Gifford, and Bigwig was based off of a Captain Desmond Kavanaugh. So, Major and Captain, we remember you.
I love that. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, leadership in this book is a definite characteristic. You could read this book looking at this bunnies, and you use the word militant in the same sentence talking about a story about bunnies, but it's fitting.
Yes.
There are characteristics of that in here, and you'll see that. So, yeah, let's get started.
This starts with Hazel and Fiver. They are two bunnies in this warren, and there's nothing particularly special about either of them within the community. Neither one is in a position of leadership. Neither one is particularly well known. Hazel is seen as sort of a solid chap, and Fiver is seen as a little bit weird. Now, from the beginning in this story, we are going to get into rabbit culture and rabbit language and rabbit terms.
And rabbit habits.
Yes. And one of the things that I love about this book is it has footnotes. Have I ever told you about my love of footnotes?
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. So when I'm reading a book and there's the little asterisks and I drop to the bottom and I see that there's something more written there, I've always loved that. It was always like a special treat, right? A special surprise within the book where this is something that is just cool and extra and additional. So in the very first chapter, we have our first little asterisk, and this is talking about Fiver's name. Fiver, in Lapine, the bunny language, we learn is el-ahrairah, or something along those lines. As we've talked about, I can't pronounce English. I certainly cannot pronounce bunny, but no bunny's going to correct me, so here we go. El-ahrairah actually means 1,000, because apparently bunnies can only count to 4. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, and anything above that is just 1,000. So Fiver was the 5th bunny in the litter, although it says he actually probably, there were more than 5, but they stopped counting at 5. And so he becomes Fiver. And we learned that in our first little footnote.
Yeah, I like that rare. It can also just mean several. So it's somewhere between 5 and 1,000. Anywhere in
or
there.
More. Or more. Anything above 4.
Very general.
Yeah.
But that's how they count, and that's how they understand it. It's funny you like asterisks. As someone who would have read medical articles, because when I was in college and there were asterisks or little, what do they call the numbers in the
footnote indicators, the subscripts and superscripts.
Yeah, the superscripts. It meant that there was another article reference that I had to go read to add more detail inside the novels. I agree, they're very fun. Other times, not so often.
I think it's because I came to love them before I had to read them professionally. So it was things like this where I was always excited for the next lesson in rabbit language.
Like,
or in The Hobbit, where they talk about the sun being referred to as she by the hobbits. So it was these little things that just popped up. And I, at some point, realized that a lot of other people wouldn't even bother to read them. They would just skip over them.
That's sad.
I agree, because they're wonderful, and there's so many. There may be a few other terms in rabbit culture we should throw out here at the beginning, because we're going to use them. It'll just make it easier. The chief rabbit. The idea is each of these warrens has a chief rabbit. Warren government and structure varies quite a bit, and we see that as they go from warren to warren, but usually there's somebody in charge, a chief rabbit. The chief rabbit then usually has kind of a ruling council underneath him, which is called an owsla, which is a fun word. And often there's a chief of the owsla who is kind of the second in command to the chief rabbit. And so these terms are going to be important. I guess a few other terms we should throw out just because I didn't really know them before, but we're going to use them. A male rabbit is a buck, a female rabbit is a doe, and a baby rabbit is a kitten. I couldn't have told you that until I had read this book. So.
See, this book is educational about bunny life.
Indeed.
But it's true, we learn much, plus some. But these two brothers start us off. So Hazel and Fiver, and they are throughout this book. And at the beginning, they're just out for an evening souffle. to use another one. That's what it means when they go up above ground to eat.
Yeah.
To find grass and yummy weeds and things. And they somehow know when they're dangerous or fine or not to eat. They have a lot of instincts, and he talks about those throughout. Fiverr is exceptional with his instincts. He feels things differently. He's almost prophetic in how he goes through things, even at the beginning here. But as they're out souffleing, eating that evening, they find something weird. They call it a man thing. Anything that's not theirs, they can tell men made this. It's a man thing. But it's this weird board.
And it's so rabbit point of view. They describe seeing the men with these funny white sticks in their mouth that they throw on the ground. I mean, the way a rabbit sees a cigarette is fascinating. And yeah, there's this man thing. And Fiverr is terrified. He is terrified. You're right to speak about him like a prophet. He is absolutely the prophet, the bard character. I mean, he's, whether you want to think of him in the druidic sense or the bard sense or the oracle sense, I mean, you could go throughout literature. I mean, this is Merlin. This is Tiresias. This is all the great, great prophets of old wrapped up in this funny little rabbit.
Funny little rabbit. And his brother knows. Hazel checks. He's like, is it safe to go over there? He's like, yeah, I don't get a bad feeling. But they happen across this board, and Fiverr says, oh, Hazel, this is where it comes from. I know now, that feeling he's been having. Something very bad is coming. Some terrible things coming closer and closer. And he looks out and he says, the field, it's covered in blood.
Yeah.
And Hazel says, no, it's not. But he sees it. He can see it in his mind. And he insists, Fiverr insists that it's time to leave right away. No time to waste.
As Jody said earlier, these first chapters are really short. They're really quick, but boy, they pack a punch. And this one ends with the view of a passerby. So the rabbits can't read this sign, this board that's up there. It's meaningless, this man thing to them. But the passerby in the car can read it. And here is what the sign says. This ideally situated estate, comprising 6 acres of excellent building land, is to be developed with high-class modern residences by Such and Martin Limited of Newbury, Berks. This doesn't bode well for the Warren.
It does not. So we move on to Fiverr. He's having this prophetic dream, and he knows something bad is coming. And here's where Hazel starts to take action. That, okay, if we have to leave, we at least have to tell the chief. And they don't really think it through. I don't think they even think something's going to come of it, but they have to at least try to share that something bad is coming. And here's where we meet our first member of the Ausla, Thaley. Again, pronunciation, I'm sorry, Thaley. But he goes by Bigwig. Both are his name. One's kind of in the Pine actual language. That's Thaley. I think of that kind of as his formal name. Mm-hmm. Bigwig is his vernacular.
Yes.
It's what they refer to him as. And it means literally fur head. That's in there too. Because he has this funny cap of fur on his head. So Bigwig.
Yeah.
So Hazel gets permission from Bigwig to go see the chief rabbit, which I guess he's kind of a big deal. That doesn't just happen, but Bigwig knows Hazel. And so Hazel and Fiverr go in. And Hazel's the one who speaks to the chief. And he's recounting how Fiverr has these feelings about things. And Fiverr's kind of pathetic in that interview. He's scared. He's little. He doesn't voice things well. And so the chief is a little brush-offish.
Yes. Well, he keeps calling Hazel Walnut, keeps forgetting his name, offers him some lettuce. And again, going back to the names, the chief's name in this is El-ahrairah. And that Ra at the end is going to be important because Ra means prince or captain or chief. And so we see our first chief rabbit here. And yeah, Hazel keeps tries to explain it, but the chief isn't having any of this. And Fiverr has these, I would refer to them as kind of queer fits. It reminds me of Bilbo in the beginning of The Hobbit when he sort of shrieks and falls down. Fiverr does that. And he's literally incapacitated because he is seeing something else and seeing beyond. And Hazel is there to take care of him, but yeah, they do not impress the chief rabbit.
Yeah, so Hazel and Fiverr leave, and Bigwig gets in trouble with the chief for letting them in. And it turns out Bigwig has a bit of a temper.
Yeah.
So in the next chapter, we learn he quits.
he is not going to be pushed around.
No.
Bigwig is such a good character, and
He
he
really
keeps
is.
getting better, but this is where he see him first. He lets Hazel and Fiver in, which he probably shouldn't, but he thinks it's the right thing to do. And then the chief bites his head off, and he's not having any of that. He's going to join Hazel and Fiver on their quest.
Since they're bunnies, I'll be clear. He does not literally bite his head off. It
thank
is
you.
metaphorical. Bunnies do not do that, though they can fight and hurt each other and kill each other, as we learn later. But now we go back to Hazel, and this chapter is called Hazel's Decision, because he decides Fiver is correct, and they have to leave, and they will leave that night. I mean, for bunnies who aren't particularly schedule-oriented, they decide, we are going.
Mm-hmm.
And so the plan for the day is to find as many people. See, it's hard because they're bunnies.
Yeah, as many bunny people.
As many bunny people as will come with him, because Fiver truly believes something devastatingly bad is coming. This is not a whim. It's not, oh, some will be okay. This is really bad. And so go find as many. And here is where Bigwig defects from the Owsla, and he says, I'm coming with you. And there's pros and cons to that, because Bigwig is a big personality, and Hazel, he sees it right away, that he has a temper, he's got a big personality. That might be kind of hard to control, but he's also a muscle.
Yes.
He also has experience in the Owsla, and they're the ones who go steal lettuces. You know, they're the ones who aren't just timid and inside in the burrows. They actually go out. So there's something definitely positive to that as well.
They decide they are going to leave Fu Inlay. Another rabbitism. Inlay is the moon. We learned that Inlay is the moon and Frith is the sun. And so Fu Inlay is after moonrise, basically, right? So, that's when they are going to meet up. And Hazel is there. Fiver is there. They're kind of nervous, though, about who else to talk to and invite because, again, the Chief Rabbit wasn't big on this, and they could certainly be seen as rebellious, as insurrectionists. And so we're not sure who all is going to join the party at this point.
Yeah, the names in this are they fit exactly what you think for rabbits. So one named Blackberry shows up that's clearly trusted. And I like this quote from him because he says, yep, I'm going to come. But he says, the funny thing is that you feel terrified to stay and feel terrified to go. Fox is here, Weasel's there, Fiver in the middle. Be gone, dull care. Such a great wrap up. And Blackberry, we learn a lot more about Blackberry. His character develops too. But he's the idea man.
Yeah, I think of him as the engineer.
Oh, yeah, he's so cool. But they're lamenting that the Chief Rabbit didn't listen because they believe this is a problem. And Hazel's the one he has insight into character. Mm-hmm. And he says that the El-ahrairah doesn't like things that he didn't think of himself.
Yeah.
And this was Fiver's idea. The leader didn't think of it, so can't be right.
Mm-hmm. There are others that join the group. There is little Pipkin. Fiver is no longer the only small one. Pipkin is small and scared and terrified, but he trusts Hazel. And Hazel is going to take care of him throughout this. We meet Dandelion. We learn that Dandelion is very fast, and Dandelion is their storyteller. He can spin a good tale, and we will come across some of those as we proceed. And then there's also just some kind of basic run-of-the-mill rabbits.
They call them the rank and file.
Hawkbit and Acorn.
And Speedwell.
And then there's one more from the Owsla, actually. So Bigwig was able to convince one of the other Owsla members to come with him, and that is Silver.
Yeah, so don't be intimidated by the names because, like in all stories, the really important ones that develop, they come back over time. And there are some rank and file ones in this, but they're a group of about 10. They're all bucks. And I think this is where it's described this kind of telepathic feeling between both people and animals. And he gives examples. It's really wonderfully written when he gets into similes and examples. I think this is where he describes swallows, like groups of swallows where they know how to turn together. Mm-hmm. You know, they're not speaking to each other, but it's this feeling that's how they meet for this departure. It's by this feeling of one another. And a kinsmanship, is that a word? As they go. But before they leave, like they're heading out, Captain Hawley, you mentioned the second in command. So he is the second in command and the leader of the Owsla, and he shows up to arrest Bigwig.
And we said earlier that there's, good and bad throughout this, and it's usually very clear. In this case, it's not. I mean, Captain Holly is a good rabbit by all we can tell. He's a solid, dependable, sturdy rabbit, but he is also heart and soul a follower of the chief rabbit. And so this is insurrection and people trying to leave, and he is not going to let them leave. Or at least he doesn't think he's going to, but it's hard to stop Bigwig when Bigwig has made up his mind.
Yeah, so Bigwig basically fends him off, and they leave. The group of bucks leaves together. It's interesting that Fiver is the only one who's calm. Everybody else is very nervous. Rabbits don't go out where they can't bolt to cover, right? Their instinct is to startle and then bolt. And you have to have a place to bolt to for that to be of any good. Because as we all know, this isn't just a made-upness about rabbits. Lots of things eat bunnies.
Yeah.
Like everything eats bunnies.
Everything eats bunnies.
They know it.
Yeah, I love how it talks about bunnies tend to have kind of two modes. One is this just sort of slow lopping mode when they're like eating grass and not doing anything. And then the other is the startle, the bolt. And that's it. But that's not what they're doing. They are doing a journey, a long journey. And that's not natural for a rabbit.
Yeah, they don't have a destination. They don't know if it's short or long, but it says to rabbits, everything unknown is dangerous, and they are outside at night, going somewhere unknown, so everything feels dangerous. And Hazel, from the beginning, starts to take the lead. He kind of recognizes that he is the decision maker in this. Fiver is not the decision maker. He has the feelings, he's the empath, but someone needs to take charge, and so Hazel does it. And he, from the beginning, starts taking the risk for them. Yeah. He runs out front to, check around the corner. And I think it's Dandelion who thanks him, like already taking our risk for us, kind of like a chief rabbit would do.
Yeah.
So they, I think, kind of by nature are looking for different people. I don't know how to refer, different bunnies to fit different roles. They're looking for a leader. And Hazel kind of slips into that from the beginning.
Yeah, which is wonderful because he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's not the smartest, he doesn't have the premonitions. What he has is leadership skills and a love of the other rabbits. I mean, he loves his brother Fiver, but even Pipkin, I mean, he reaches out to him, and all the rabbits that are with him, even when they irritate him, he cares about them. And I think they all sense that too and know that about him.
Yeah, he wants to take care of them, but they grow exhausted and anxious. I mean, if you're under tension constantly, that's exhausting. So they're looking for predators, they're looking for men. And so they take a break finally, and I think Hazel asked Dandelion to tell a story. Rabbits are storytellers. They love a good story.
Yes. It's one of the great parts about this book is embedded in this great book are all these short stories that get told between the rabbits. And this is the first one. And this is where we meet the great rabbit hero, the father of rabbits. Okay, this is going to be funny. El-ahrairah. You try saying it.
I'd say El-ahrairah.
Okay.
That's pretty close.
I'm going to pronounce this about 17,000 different ways over the course of this book. His chief of his Ausla is much easier to pronounce. He's Rabscuttle.
Yeah.
I got that one.
I agree on that one. But he's the trickster, and he is the thing of which stories are made. He is the hero. He saves his people. He's always coming up with a trick. And it also explains just rabbits' backstory, where they came from and their belief systems in these stories that clearly they just tell at night or during the day in their case when they're just resting.
It also tells what's important to them. What do they value? These stories do everything a good story should do. They are a defining characteristic of these rabbits, which is wonderful. And so this Prince of Rabbits, I want to talk about his name a little bit. I can't pronounce it, but you had said earlier that everything is an enemy to the rabbit. And that's what this name means. It's the Prince of 1,000 enemies. The other word we haven't used yet is Enlil, or Enlila for the plural. So these are the enemies of the rabbits. And it's basically everything. Stoats, foxes, birds, men,
cats.
Anything can be an Enlil, an enemy to them. This is also the first place I think that we meet Lord Frith. So Frith is the sun, but he's also the rabbit god. He is the founder of everything. It's fun. They talk about the reason why the earth is so fertile is because as Frith goes across it, he drops his droppings and then things can grow. I mean, it's kind of gross, but if you think about rabbits, that's also kind of sweet.
It's contextualized for their own nature. And they go the whole way. I mean, where water comes from and where grass comes from. And here's where we learn why they have so many enemies. So this one's called The Story of the Blessing of El-ahrairah.
El-ahrairah and his people are getting into all sorts of trouble. They are multiplying, well, like rabbits. They are all over the place, and this is an Edenic story when the world is young and they have no enemies and life is just good. And Frith says, hey, you've got to control your people or else you're going to take over everything. You need to bring it under control. But El-ahrairah is not going to do that. He loves his people. He wants them to grow and multiply, and so he brushes it off. And so what Frith does is he summons all the animals to him, and he's going to give them gifts. And so he summons the fox, and he gets the gift of his great cunning. He summons, the bear, and he gets his great strength. He summons all the animals, and they get these gifts. But amongst the gifts, he also gives them the desire to hunt and kill the rabbits.
Along with claws and teeth.
Yes. So these rabbits go from living an idyllic existence where they're just multiplying and nothing is out to get them to all of a sudden everything is out to get them. The 1,000 enemies. And as we remember, the word 1,000 actually means anything greater than 4. So it's an unlimited number of enemies. As this is going on, El-ahrairah
El-ahrairah,
the bunny prince, learns that this is happening and that all these enemies are going. And so he turns and starts to dig. He starts to dig a hole so he can escape from the enemies. And Frith comes upon him and says, where is the bunny prince? I have given all these gifts. I need to bless him now. And El-ahrairah says, I don't know where he is. Here I'm digging this hole to get away. And Frith says, well, I can't bless him unless I can find him. And he says, well, my legs are sticking out of the hole. So if you're going to bless anything, bless that.
Yeah, here's the quote. It says, bless my bottom, for it's sticking out of the hole. So Frith does. He gives him the strong legs and the ability to run. And he also tells him to be cunning and full of tricks. And this really explains, the use of a rabbit's wits and body over just brute force. I mean, there are fighter bunnies, but that's not what they were made to be.
And it's not the hero. The hero is the trickster bunny. So it's Peter Rabbit, right? It's Brer Rabbit. It's the trickster kind of scoundrel thief bunnies. And that's what they honor and respect. And we get that all in this first very short story about the blessing.
And so while they're sitting there being comforted by this story, a Lendry, which I figured out is a badger, one of the enemies, but he startles the group. He kind of pokes his head in, and so they get moving again, and they come across this river. These rabbits have never seen a river. They have no idea what this is. I mean, maybe they've heard of it in stories. Somebody says, well, we'll have to swim across. And Bigwig is annoyed. He's like, why would we do that? Who's swimming? But Hazel sends him across, and he is a rabbit of action. So, okay, he goes because he is big and strong, and this current for him is no big deal. But from the other bank, he can see that there's a dog loose in the woods, and that is a problem.
Yeah.
So I like this line about Bigwig. Hazel sees that when he's confused, perplexed, that he gets upset, and that perplexity is worse than danger. For Bigwig to be upset and feel lost and not have something to do is worse than for him to be in danger. So he is given the task to come across, but he sees the dog. He comes back because they're exhausted. The group is exhausted. He comes back, says, no, we need to go somewhere now.
For Bigwig, this isn't an issue. He can swim. Hazel can probably make it across. Silver can. Dandelion probably can. But Pipkin and Fiver can't. They cannot swim across this river. But Hazel refuses to leave them. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He doesn't know how he's going to solve this problem. But again, his leadership steps up here where he says, no, we are not leaving them behind. And this is where we see the genius of Blackberry.
The idea man.
He is so good.
Yes.
He's talking about wood. He sees a chunk of wood and he thinks, and And this is a rabbit thinking this. Rabbits don't have man thoughts. They don't use tools, things like that. But Blackberry has a little bit of that in him, and he realizes that wood floats. And so he thinks, okay, if Fiver and Pipkin sit on the wood, they'll float on the wood and they can float over. The other rabbits just do not get this. They cannot wrap their brains around this concept, but they also don't need to. They just need to trust Blackberry.
Hazel doesn't get it at all.
No.
But he says, do what he says. He's on board.
And Bigwig, again, jumps too. And he starts pushing the board with Blackberry and with Hazel. And they get it in the water. And they are able to successfully get across the water on this board. Blackberry's kind of proud of this. I like his line at the end. I admit it was a good idea, replied Blackberry. Let's remember it. It might come in handy again sometimes.
Little foreshadowing there for later, everybody. But I like that Fiver thanks Blackberry because Fiver does get it. He's like, you saved us. They were stuck without him. And he came up with something that helped them. And I like that Fiver goes out of his way. He has his own form of leadership in this where he really assists Hazel. He's not enough to be the leader. I don't think there's any part of Fiver that wants to be the leader. He doesn't have the strength or capacity for it. But he does notice things and understand things, and he thanks him. I think it's very sweet and important. So from there, they're all exhausted. I think they pass out on the bank or something for a while.
Yeah.
But the next morning, Hazel wakes up, and he realizes nobody from the Warren can come after them. Right? Captain Hawley came. The odds are good that they were going to be looking for them around the Warren. Well, now they've crossed a river. Bunnies have crossed a river. That's a big deal. So he goes scouting. He's kind of excited, and he smells something new. And he can tell, again, it's one of those telepathic things that it's not dangerous, but it is new, and it's this big covering type scent. And so he actually finds a bean field because they are out in the open. They are vulnerable. So even when they're resting, they're not resting. And he finds this field that everybody can rest in. They're tall enough and the smell is strong enough that they can rest there and actually relax, actually recover. And so this is, again, a time where Hazel's scouting out ahead. He's thinking it through. He's taking those risks, looking around to find a place to keep his people safe. I like that there's, I think they call it a kestrel. No, it's a crow.
This is the crow.
And he doesn't really know. He just calls it not hawk. It's not a hawk. No problem.
That's right.
But it turns out that Pipkin and Fiver are small enough and tired enough. They look weak enough on their way to this field that the knothawk attacks them.
Yeah.
And here again is where our big bunnies get to come in at the act. So Bigwig and Silver, they take action. They drive off this crow, and they're able to rest in this field. Then here's where we get the word emblier.
Yeah. This quote just jumps in here. So we've been learning some bunny words, and here we have a full sentence. Hoi hoi, u El-ahrairah, me son ulo rakaver.
Say what?
Well, if you look to the footnote.
Translate, please.
Down below. Hoi hoi, the stinking 1,000. We meet them even when we stop to pass our droppings.
His native tongue just came out there in his frustration, I guess.
It's beautiful in rabbit.
It is. Agreed. And so this whole time, Pipkin had a thorn in his paw, so he gets to sleep. Hazel takes care of it. It's bunny medicine, right? He stays by him. He licks it till he can get out. Licks it as it bleeds. It's very both human and emotional in how they do things, but also they're still just rabbits. It's amazing. I love how he tells this story.
Yeah, I agree. And what follows next is travel, journey, hard goings, the road in the common. These are some of the names of the chapters coming up. And through them, we learn different things about some of the characters, but a lot of it is just them slogging through. At one point here, some of the rabbits ask, where are we going?
Oh, they want to go back.
There's a mutiny against Hazel, and Hazel is very honest and forthright. Fiver at this point has told Hazel where they need to go. Up into the highlands where they can see around them and be safe from enemies, and Fiver knows this is where they need to go. Hazel doesn't really believe they can get there. It seems impossible, but he trusts Fiver, and that's where he is going. But the others, they want to turn around.
Bigwig gives him a lesson. Talking to, it does get tense. He ends up biting one of them, and there's some drama. And so Hazel is pushed to it with his leadership, but he makes a gamble.
Yeah.
He says, Follow me and we'll be out of this by sunrise. They're not in good cover. There's nowhere to go, but follow me and we'll be out of this by sunrise. He really rolls the dice on that one.
Because he has no idea.
Right?
That's a total guess, but it works.
Totally works. And the whole time he's encouraging Pipkin. It becomes this mantra for himself. We're like, not far now, not far now. He's telling this small rabbit who believes in him unfailingly, not far now, not far now. And right when they're hitting dawn, their spirits are low, they find a place of hope.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful moment where they just trudge through the night and they've come upon a perfect field, a perfect place, and there is hope. They
start digging. Now, apparently this is a really big deal because bucks don't dig.
I learned that too. Who knew?
Does dig. Bucks don't. And so they're all a little sniffy about this, but they also don't want to be out in the rain and the cold. And so they start digging on this hill. They kind of test the wind and they start making what they call scrapes in the hill to try and get in there. As they're doing this, though, not long after, they meet somebody. The first time they meet another rabbit out in the field.
Yeah, and they do look around, and there's no sign of enemies anywhere. And they do see men in the distance and signs of men there. And only Fiver is curious, what are the men there for? If there's no enemies. But yeah, this tall, handsome stranger, bunny stranger, shows up, and he's come to talk, and he's different. He smells different. He smells opulent. That's the word, opulent. And he moves his head strangely. And he's very strange to them, but they assume that they're just these country bumpkins. They don't know what they're doing. They must be in the wrong. But even though they're different, he invites them to join them. They're not sure if he's going to be mad. Apparently, rabbits can be territorial. He's like, no, why would I be territorial? There's plenty of room. Come on by.
Yeah, he invites them over.
But he doesn't want to be out in the rain.
So he's grooming himself throughout this entire process.
So he runs back. He's like, come when you're ready.
Yeah, this massive, sleek, obviously healthy. He impresses everyone. Everyone is impressed and a little annoyed by just how handsome this rabbit is. And so they're going to think about it. They decided first, well, we're going to wait. And the name of this rabbit is Cowslip. And Cowslip tells them, all right, well, our warren is right over there if you want to come join us. But you should know these holes you've dug, this isn't the way the wind usually blows, and you're going to be full of water here shortly. And then he leaves.
And I think this is another leadership moment here where Hazel has them talk about it. And he gets better at this over time, too, as they learn one another. But just deciding what does the group think? But he kind of navigates that conversation. And everybody but Fiver is on board.
Yeah.
They don't want to be in the wet. They don't want to be in the wind. So they head out. But there is a prayer. They pray to this trickster, almost Robin Hood bunny character, El-ahrairah. Going with it. El-ahrairah. And here's the line, the prayer. He says, you know these rabbits as well as you know us. Let this be the right thing that I'm doing. He's praying.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
You had mentioned earlier at the beginning of every chapter, there's a quote, and we haven't been reading all of them, but I think we should read this next one for chapter 13. The fact that it's chapter 13 should be a little ominous, called Hospitality. And here's the quote from Tennyson's The Lotus Eaters. In the afternoon they came into a land, in which it seemed always afternoon. All around the coast the languid air did swoon, breathing like one that hath a weary dream. And if you know the Lotus Eaters, you know things are about to get wild here on this one.
You got a warning right there. Hospitality. So yeah, the group makes their way to the warren in the rain. And this warren is not hidden. It is obvious. You can see tracks of the rabbits, where they go, comment. That's evidently not common because that would be very easy for some of the 1,000 to track and eat them. They don't seem worried, but they're invited in and they have this huge common room. They call it the Great Burrow. And that's strange to these rabbits as well. They've never seen something so big, but it's a place underground where they're safe and they can all assemble together. And they really like that. And they describe the opulent smell of all these rabbits. They're all big and sleek and healthy looking. There's no smell of sickness or interesting that they can smell sickness.
Yeah.
But it describes the interaction of how these rabbits come underground and without talking a lot, they get to know one another and the dynamic of how that's done. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. It's also interesting that there is no chief rabbit here. Because they go to present themselves to the chief rabbit, and there isn't one. There's no chief rabbit. There's no Owsla. I mean, it's almost a commune is the way it kind of presents. But again, everyone is healthy, no sickness. It's kind of strange. They also find, though, as they start asking questions, some questions they just won't answer. Anytime they ask a where question, they get interrupted and diverted. And it's politely, but they all start to notice it, that the questions aren't getting answered.
Oh, they duck it big time. They also have kind of man things. Hazel follows a rabbit called Strawberry. And Strawberry has a doe called Nildrohane. And here's a footnote. It's called Song of the Blackbird. Nildrohane. That's another sweet one that he doesn't create a full language for Lapine, but there's a lot of detail and it's very consistent. World building. It's beautiful. But Strawberry shows Hazel shapes in the wall. Like there's a drawing on brick in my mind, and Hazel has no clue what this is. And why would you do it? What is this? It's very unnerving to him. But they're very proud of it. Like, did you see the shape?
Yeah, you see the shape. Well, and they ask, what are they for? And he answers, this is Strawberry. It's El-ahrairah, says Strawberry. A rabbit called Laburnum did it some time ago now. We have others, but this is the best. Worth a visit, don't you think?
Yeah, he is bewildered.
Yeah, Hazel has no clue.
What? Why?
What is it? What is the shape? It's such a man thing, and these rabbits are doing it.
Yeah, and then he asks where, and Strawberry ducks the question. And Hazel, he puts it to the test. He's like, anytime I start with where, they don't answer. So he on purpose starts the question where, and Strawberry calls down a run for this other rabbit. And he's like, oh, he must be asleep. And then he walks off. But Hazel checks, and it's an old run. There's been not anybody down there. This is an intentional thing that they do. They duck the question where.
Hazel and his folk then say they want to go up to Silflay, right? They want to go up and eat because this is what wild rabbits do. And the Warren rabbits just think this is weird. It's raining. Why would you go out there? But they decide, no, we're going to go do it, in part because they want to talk a little bit without the other rabbits hearing them. So they go up in the rain, and the general impression is everyone's happy with where they're at. There's going to be food here. It seems to be safe. All these people are healthy. Yeah, they're a little weird, but we can get used to that, except for Fiver. Fiver is not on board.
He won't come in. He says something is terribly wrong here. And before they go up, this is striking. Cowslip, that bunny who came to meet them and invite them to the warren, he laughs.
Oh, yeah.
Rabbits don't laugh, and it freaks them all out. Because, yeah, everybody seems good here, well-fed and healthy, but the laughing rabbit is alarming, and they run.
Yeah.
They run outside from this crazy rabbit. Like, what is it doing?
Yeah.
But somebody points out that, yep, it's great here, but they all seem terribly sad.
Mm.
And so that clearly there's some mystery here, but for a while they assume it's them. We don't understand. We're new here. We don't get it. But the next day, they're taken to the El-ahrairah.
The El-ahrairah. I love the title of this chapter too. Like trees in November. So again, foreshadowing. So the El-ahrairah.
El-ahrairah is good stuff. It's not just grass. It's choice stuff to eat, like lettuces and things that they'd steal from a garden. But at this warren, men put them out for them. There's always something for them to eat, especially when the weather's bad. And they actually carry it back into that burrow. And so they're doing things very not rabbitish. So the one who's laughing, they also carry back these lettuce and things like dogs. And so Cowslip's like, you'll figure it out. You can carry it in your mouth. And they don't say like a dog. That wouldn't be very rabbitish of it. But that's what it is. It's out of character for rabbits to do. And that's what these rabbits have done. Same with the shapes in the wall. It's weird.
Yeah. The newcomers, though, they want to belong. They want to participate. And so they jump in and they start learning to carry stuff back. Some of them are better at it than others, and they all go it. And then finally somebody says, "Where's Fiver? He's not working with us." And Hazel hadn't realized that. And so he goes and hunts down Fiver. And Fiver, again, is just totally opposed to this whole thing. It's all just wrong. And Hazel is starting to get really angry at him. He feels like Fiver is just being obstructive at this point, just standing in the way of good things.
Making problems.
And so it really, he gets very angry at him.
They bully Fiver down into the burrow because he's outside. He's like, "No, you're coming in." And so these rabbits are hanging out in this burrow. They have good food there, and time for a story, right? That's what they do. And this is a rabbit proverb: in the warren, more stories than passages. They are storytellers by nature, and Dandelion is their designated best storyteller. So they ask him to tell a story. And he comes up with a classic. Clearly, they know this one. They all love this one. It's called The King's Lettuce. And this is another instance where we get these little rabbit fables tucked in. It's a good story.
Yeah, and this is the one that was on the wall. They didn't understand the shapes, but the shapes were supposed to be from this story. And so they jump in and say, "Well, we know that story," and they go to tell it. We get a new character. We get Prince Rainbow. Prince Rainbow is not Frith. He seems to be like kind of just under Frith, but has a lot of powers and a lot of authority.
He's like the enforcer of Frith's law.
Yeah.
On Earth.
Yeah, totally. There's another character we learn who is King Darzin. We don't know what species King Darzin is. Again, it all kind of blends. He's not a rabbit, but he's also not human. He's an animal story.
He's very rabbit-ish. But he's not a rabbit because he's clearly not one of El-ahrairah's people. So it is confusing, but they don't seem to mind.
Yeah.
So in this story, the rabbits are all stuck in the marshes of Kelvasin, which I don't know what that means. It's just a cool name. But it's wet and it's bad. It's not healthy for the rabbits there. And El-ahrairah asked Prince Rainbow to let them out of these marshes. They're stuck in this wet, boggy ground. And he basically makes it a dare.
Yeah.
And Prince Rainbow's like, "Nah, I know that trick." But it turns out that King Darzin has planted a lot of choice lettuces, and they are well guarded. So that's the deal that El-ahrairah makes with Prince Rainbow. He says, "Hey, what if I steal the lettuces? Will you let us out?" And here's where Prince Rainbow says, "Ha, if you do that, yes, you can get out. And not only that you will multiply and no one can ever keep your people out of vegetable gardens." You make this happen, that's a promise. Because that's how unlikely it is for him to succeed.
Game on.
Game on.
El-ahrairah, he's going to run with this. He's going to make this happen. And so he meets up with his captain of Ausla, Rabscuttle, and the two start planning and talking and planning. Prince Rainbow comes and kind of makes fun of him and says, "Well, El-ahrairah, I don't see the lettuces. Where are they?" He says, "Oh, I'm having them delivered." And then they just keep planning. What they end up doing it's wonderful. It's a great story.
This is the one where Rabscuttle sneaks in. And he slowly poisons the food in the king's castle.
He does. So the food is getting, and this food is the lettuce, because this is the choice food from the king's garden. And so Rabscuttle has snuck in, and he's poisoning it so that everyone who eats it is getting sick. They're getting sick. Eventually they decide, well, they need a physician. And so this is where El-ahrairah has dressed himself up. He is a master of disguise.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
He comes as Frith's almost shaman, the doctor of God, basically.
He does. He says, "I've been brought here to cure you, to help you." And he does a full exam on people. He pokes and prods and looks at eyes and in ears and does the whole thing. And he says, "Oh, it's your lettuce. Your lettuce is poisoned. And you should know it's especially dangerous to rabbits. It will kill rabbits. It makes you sick, but it'll kill rabbits." And so the king has an idea. He says,
first, you skipped a bit. They test it out on a hapless bystander. Right. They haul in a rabbit from outside just to see.
Yeah.
And they give him some of this lettuce, and it happens to be Rabscuttle in disguise. And he's frothing at the mouth and foaming and falling down. And El-ahrairah's like, oh, that must have been a really poison one. But yes, the king has this very clever idea of how to get rid of all those nasty rabbits. I will send them my lettuces.
He's going to poison them. So he delivers them. He takes all the lettuce from his garden and has them delivered. And El-ahrairah wins the bet, and the rabbits are blessed.
And released from the marshes. But the big rabbits at this warren don't seem to like this story. And Hazel and his group, they're confused because they love it. And they know Dandelion does a good job. Obviously, he's a great storyteller. So they don't get it. It's awkward after. But then the warren has somebody speak. They have poets.
Yeah.
This poet in particular that speaks, he is young. He doesn't sound young, but his body is young. He's also tragic. And Fiver is drawn to this, not in a pleasant way, but he's like, I have to go see this guy. But it's all very death focused, and there's no tricks. There's no more tricks. It's all about death and very, blowing in and out on the wind. It's interesting. He says, rabbits don't need tricks. Rabbits need dignity and the will to accept their fate.
Yeah, that's ominous.
Isn't it?
Says, Fiver, as he listened, had shown a mixture of intense absorption and incredulous horror. I mean, yeah, so he's drawn and terrified by this.
And they love it. The rabbits of that warren, they think it's something really special. But it is just bleak. They are sad about something. And so this next chapter tells us what? It's titled The Shining Wire.
Mm-hmm. Fiver will not stay. He will not stay. So he runs away again. He's outside of the warren. Hazel goes to catch him. Bigwig goes with him, and they're angry at Fiver because they think that Fiver is imperiling them. He's ruining their status in the community. He's keeping them as outsiders, and he's just throwing fits for no good reason. And so they go to find him, but when they find him, he looks so forlorn and sad and small that Hazel can't, beat him up, and even Bigwig doesn't beat him up like he had planned to originally. But eventually they start talking. And Fiver says, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm going. I will not stay. And this is obviously problematic. And so what happens is Bigwig ends up taking off. He runs through a patch in a hedge.
Well, he yells at Fiver. He says, you're being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, go. And Bigwig runs back to the warren. And in my mind, it was kind of a gap in a hedge. Like the clear path, direct path back to the warren. And so Hazel and Fiver are standing there, and they can't see Bigwig, but they hear a sound, and they see dirt and grass fly. Something has happened as Bigwig ran back toward the warren. Mm-hmm. So they run down to check, and Bigwig, this big, strong, their toughest rabbit, he is trapped in a snare, clearly planted on this direct path back to the warren, and it is choking him. And Hazel's great. He asks him, because Bigwig's part of the Owl's, he has experience with snares and these things. They know what it is, but what to do about it. Mm-hmm. And he gasps out, because this thing is around his throat, that you can't pull on the wire. You have to dig out the peg. Hazel has no clue what that means. None at all. But he has to help his friend. So he sends Fiver back to the warren to get his people.
Yeah, and his idea guy.
Yeah.
Because Blackberry obviously will know.
He does, because he's awesome. Yeah. But the only rabbits that come to help are their rabbits that came there. No one from that warren comes out to help. Blackberry helps them figure out there's a peg that's holding this thing in the ground. That's what he meant. And so they actually send Pipkin down.
Because he's small.
Because he's small.
He
can help. He can do something that really helps here. He bites through that peg. And so Bigwig is hurt, and hurt bad, but he is loose. Mm-hmm. And here's where Fiver and them, they describe asking the head of the warren, Cowslip, not even the head, they don't have a head, but for help. He scratches Fiver. He attacks him, sends him away. They don't answer questions. They don't come out. Clearly, this is something they know about. That's why they won't answer the question, where? Where is someone? We don't ask.
They have accepted this. They are willing to accept death for comfort.
And here's where Fiver explains it to them all. We're like, their rabbits, now that Bigwig's free, they want to go back and attack them. These rabbits for hurting him, for allowing them to be hurt. And he says, that warren is nothing but a death hole. Why would you go back there? Clearly, this is what happened. And he explains how, yes, the men around here, they shoot all the enemies. They keep it very safe in all the other ways for these rabbits, but they trap them at will.
Yeah.
It's like their own private rabbit farm.
As they're having these conversations, they're not certain Bigwig is going to live. He is not getting up. This just incredibly strong and powerful rabbit is not moving, not getting up. But then you hear him say, I'll kill him. Gasped a low, choking voice behind them. Bigwig got mad. He doesn't go back and kill them. But to hear about just the dishonor and what these Warren rabbits were willing to do, that got Bigwig up. And so they all realize it's time to go.
Yeah. So they're leaving. And there is a rabbit that approaches them, not part of their group. And it happens to be Strawberry, that Hazel had interacted with. Strawberry's a buck, and he had met his doe. They're all mad at Strawberry, right? He's part of this warren. He allowed Bigwig to get hurt. They weren't warned. But Strawberry wants to come with them because his doe was also snared and killed.
Yeah, as they're leaving, we don't care for creatures who deceive us, said Silver. Better go back to Nildrohain. No doubt she's less particular. Strawberry gave a kind of choking squeal, as though he had been wounded. He looked from Silver to Hazel and then to Fiver. At last, in a pitiful whisper, he said, the wires.
And it's Hazel that lets Strawberry come with them. The others say no. Hazel allows him to join their group.
He has a heart of pity. You can come with us, he said. Don't say any more. Poor fellow.
So that is the end of part 1.
That warren, the Warren of Death, stuck with me from the first time I read this book. It just so powerfully done.
It is. And it, I think, demonstrates something about how bad it can be to keep secrets. If this group had come in and they're at least open about this, it changes the nature entirely of what's important. In the hearts in their community, that's not how it goes there. And how sick and twisted is it? Part 2 kicks off, and it's called On Watership Down, the title of the book.
We're there. They've made it. So these are the hills. These are the downs. These are the high ground that Fiver told them they needed to get through. They got there.
Yeah, so they've been traveling this whole time. So they are tired, and they're still looking. Okay, right now, when it opens up, it doesn't look all that promising because they're exhausted. It's been dangerous the whole time, and everything is new. The plants are new. The smells are new. Everything is new. But Hazel's looking around at his band of bunnies here. And here's a quote. He says, they had become a warier, shrewd, tenacious band. And even Strawberry, who showed up late to the group, he wants to show he's up to their standard. He's trying to do his part, even though he is soft.
Yeah.
He doesn't know any better. But they've learned some things, and it describes how on their travels they were attacked by rats in the barn. And here we get to see Bigwig is hurt, and he has to let go of some of his pride and his abilities. So others, Silver and I think Buckthorn, one of the rank and file, very steady chap, they are able to defend them from these rats. And Bigwig, he's learning some prudence on his own. So throughout this, they each have this character development. They learn as rabbits in each of their roles. They get better in each of their roles. Yeah. It's great. I love this book.
I think Buckthorn's talent is getting injured.
Yeah.
That tends to keep happening. But he's solid. And
he's solid.
With it.
He's not a complainer.
Yeah.
But here it says, there is no more questioning of Bigwig's strength, Fiver's insight, Blackberry's wits, or Hazel's authority. Because up to this point, even at the Death Warren, when people asked Hazel, so are you chief or are you their leader? He didn't want to say yes. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to take on something that hadn't been given to him. It's been given to him now. They all acknowledge him as their leader. And this piece has stuck with me since early childhood, where they're at the bottom of this down. Okay, it's a hill. It's a steep hill. There's a cliff on one side. They're climbing up. And it describes wonderfully how to a man, a human, when you climb up a hill, it feels steep because you're tall.
Yeah.
But bunnies are down by the ground, so they can't see up and out like humans can. But the hill doesn't matter so much because they don't have so much above the ground. They are on the ground level. Described wonderfully. I've always remembered every time I go hiking. I'm like, why am I so tall?
If only I were a rabbit.
If only if I were a rabbit. But all the way up, they're looking for that feeling of hope. Like, where are we supposed to go? Because Fiver says this is where we're supposed to go. And they do trust him, but where are we going here? But at the top, they can see.
Yeah, doesn't Dandelion get up on a hill? There's a little hill, and Dandelion gets up on top of it, and Hazel says, "Stop, what are you doing? The enemies can see you," because they're scared of everything. And Dandelion says, "No, I can see everything." And they look, and they can. They could see enemies coming from so far away. They're home.
And it's Dandelion. They're dancing around. They're happy. He says, "Oh, Frith on the hills, he must have made it for us. This is the perfect place for them." And Hawkbit, one of the rank and file, he disappears first off. Like, where did that guy go? It's funny, I think, when they're like, we can see everything. But then they're like, where's Hawkbit?
Oh, I can't see him.
I know. Funny. But he finds these old empty rabbit holes. He's like, would these be of help? Turns out, yes. So Hazel's so excited. They call everybody up, to come establish basically their new warren. This is their new home.
There's a whole bunch that happens now as they're learning the area, exploring, seeing what's around.
Digging, planning.
Digging. They find out fairly quickly that they understand why these holes are empty because you can only dig them so far. There's better places they need to go. But as they're starting to do this, as they're starting to explore, one night they are out at night. And Bigwig's there and Hazel's there and a bunch of them are there and they hear a sound that's like a rabbit but can't be a rabbit. It's like all the sorrow of the rabbits they could ever hear. There's this sound and they're terrified. They're all in a ditch. Bigwig's in a ditch. And we learn here that Bigwig is, I don't know that superstitious is the right word, but he talks about the black rabbit of Inlay.
If it calls you by name, you have to go.
Now, again, when we try and explain this, when we try and walk through this just sounds cheesy. The black rabbit of Inlay? What is that? The rabbits are scared of this dark thing? But as you're going through the book, it makes sense. The terror of this comes through. The fear of this comes through. I mean, this is essentially a banshee character. So, like, for the Celts, when the banshee calls, that's your time of death. That's what the rabbits are hearing with this. And it is calling Thlaeli.
By name.
It is calling Bigwig. And Bigwig is about to go. And he is terrified and white and freaking out, but you have to go. Hazel says no. Hazel steps up and with full authority says, "Get back, I'm going." And he goes out into the dark to face whatever this is.
Yeah, the black rabbit, they clearly all know what that means. The black rabbit of Inlay. So the black rabbit of the moon. Inlay's the moon, right? This was a horror story. Clearly they all know this story from long ago. It's a ghost story. And to be called by name in the middle of the night, that would freak me out.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And Hazel is a rock star. He's like, "You stay, I go." And he runs out, and this rabbit screaming is crying, "Zorn, Zorn." It's a very brutal sounding word. What's the footnote say?
Zorn means finished or destroyed in the sense of some terrible catastrophe.
Zorn. And so I think Dandelion shows up behind Hazel. I love Dandelion.
Yeah,
actually.
he's great too.
He's a lesser character, but he's awesome.
All these rabbits are awesome. I really love them all. But anyway, yes, Dandelion
Truly.
is there with Hazel.
And so Hazel hears this rabbit and he calls out and says, "Who are you?" But finally he sees him and this rabbit is kind of mutilated. He is on death's door and he's panicked and they can smell it from a distance. But it turns out it is Captain Hawley of the Sandalford Owsla. The captain of the guard who tried to arrest Bigwig when they were leaving has shown up in the middle of the night on death's door to find them.
It is so good.
Twist!
It is amazing. Well, I'm sure I was wondering what happened to the Warren. Was Fiver right? Were the fields really covered in blood? What happened? And it takes a little while for Captain Hawley to recover, for him to be able to tell his story. But when he does, it is heartbreaking. And you can see what Fiver saved them from, what Hazel saved them from.
Yeah, the title of the chapter when he tells the story of what happened to the Warren is called For El-ahrairah to Cry.
Mm-hmm.
And it is devastating. Fiver had it right.
Before we tell that story, there's a few other things that happen here that are going to be important for later on. None of the rabbits thought there was really anything worthwhile emulating about that Warren, with the exception of the Great Burrow. They loved the idea of a place where all the rabbits could gather together underground and be safe, could tell stories. It was just a wonderful idea. But they didn't know how to do it. I mean, how do you do that without it falling in? And luckily, they have Strawberry with them. Strawberry has grown up in that burrow, and he talks about it. He says that there are tree roots that come down, and these tree roots support the weight of the roof. They start digging around on the top of Watership Down to look for a place, and what they find are not just a tree root, but this whole bunch of tree roots that can all come down and support this massive burrow. It looks like a honeycomb because each of the roots is going down, and that breaks it up into different sectors. And so they call it the honeycomb, and they start digging it. And the honeycomb is really kind of the center of their lives, the center of their home, with burrows and sleeping quarters then kind of running off it from other sides.
I totally want one.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be great.
It looks awesome.
They can all be together, and they're, I think he points out that the tree roots would keep it warmer, and they can't see when they're under there anyway. It's not a time where you look at somebody as they're talking. They're sharing and, interacting by scent and by their stories. So, yeah, the honeycomb.
Yeah.
Super
Strawberry also says that for defense, it could be helpful because of the roots transmitting sound. So if there's one of the 1,000 up there trying to sniff them out or hunt them out, they can hear it better as it kind of transmits down through the roots. So just really cool. So not only do they have a great burrow that is at least equal to the one in the Death Warren, it's better. It's cooler in its own way. So I love the honeycomb.
Has a better name.
Yeah. And then there's one other thing that happens in this chapter too. And this is where Hazel develops a policy, if you will. There's a kestrel. There's a bird coming around, and the kestrel's so small that it's probably not going to hurt a rabbit. They don't like them, but they're not really scared of it. But Hazel is sitting on the edge of the burrow, and he sees a mouse, and the mouse is small enough that the bird will eat it. And Hazel, in a flash, in kind of a moment, says, "Come here." He speaks in, it's not Lapine, it's a common dialect.
Yeah, they call it the lingua franca.
Yeah, how great is that? And the mouse is hesitant at first, but as this bird is swooping on it, he doesn't have a choice and runs into the burrow and is rescued. And Hazel lets him stay there until the bird leaves. And as the mouse leaves, he says in this halting lingua franca, you saved me, I will help you if ever I can, and then leaves. The other rabbits give Hazel a pretty hard time over this.
Yeah.
Why are you saving this mouse? And Hazel points out there are newcomers here. There's a lot they don't know. And so they need all the friends they can get. I mean, they have 1,000 enemies and they have few friends. And so this is his first journey into making friends. And he talks about the fact that wouldn't it be great if we had a bird for a friend?
Hint, hint.
Keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out for a bird you can help.
Look
That
for
won't
an
kill you.
opportunity.
It's a good mentality. Again, his leadership shows up, and it is a little bit funny how much disdain these rabbits, everything eats these rabbits, how much disdain they have for creatures smaller than them.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd have some sympathy.
A little pity.
They're like, ugh, gross. But I think in their experience, like things like mice, more mice than bunnies. But yes, everybody's like, okay, we'll do that. After some rest, Captain Hawley's ready to share his story. And he did have one companion that showed up with him. His name is Bluebell, And he's great. He is a jokester. And so when they're walking in, Bluebell says his first joke. He says, "What did the first blade of grass say to the second blade of grass? Look, a rabbit. We're in danger." Hazel, stop. And Holly tells him, "No, don't make him stop. He's the reason we're here." His jokes and making light-hearted jokes along the way is the reason that they made it. At some point, Bluebell says, "I'd make a joke and roll it along the ground and we'd both follow it."
Yeah.
Because this was an ugly, brutal journey for them. And here's where Holly tells his story.
And the story's bleak. The men come. The men who are going to develop this area, they come and they start looking for the rabbit holes. The rabbits all descend into the holes. Captain Hawley is gone. He's been sent out to do I can't remember if he was sent or if he decided to go on his own. I think he went on his own.
Lettuce hunt.
To go hunting for lettuce, because Bigwig asked him, usually they send 3. Why were you alone? And he said, well, it was a new place. I wanted to go on my own, scout it out. And so when I came back, all these men were there. And so I waited to see what they would do. What the men were doing was not sending dogs into the holes, not hunting, not netting the holes. They were covering the holes up. Everyone they could find, they would cover up. And then they took a tube, and he couldn't really describe it. Coming up with words for it was very hard for him because he's a rabbit.
Man things.
But we know this is a gas tube. And he puts the tube in one of the holes, and they start gassing the entire warren. As the rabbits come up, if they shoot them, or if they find a hole, they fill it, and the rabbits are all dying. Holly runs into it to try and save what he can to try and be part of the group, but it's too late. He talks about smelling some of the gas and what it does to him. It just totally disorients him and takes away all his sensations, and he almost dies even in that. But as he's down there, he is able to find Bluebell, and the two of them alone and only are able to escape together. Well, there are actually a couple other rabbits that go with them.
Yeah, Bluebell actually chimes in with his piece of the story because Holly was outside, and he describes going senseless. But Bluebell, by chance, finds this kind of long tunnel that's fairly unused that leads out into the wood. So he escapes a lot of the gas. But man, he describes following this other rabbit who's just sick from these gas fumes and being worried that he'd die in front of him and he'd be trapped in this run. But the two of them make it out. So I think his name is Pimpernel, which is a flower.
Yeah, a common wayside flower.
Yeah, and it's sad because there's, the 3 of them out in this wood. And Holly, he's sick from these gas fumes. But his mind fixates on telling Bigwig that he was right. Finding Bigwig, Flaley. And so they go on this journey to find him, and they recount it and their hardships along the way. What's really sad is that third companion, they find the death warren.
Yeah.
They're asleep, and these rabbits show up from that death warren, and Holly doesn't know anything, but those rabbits are now defensive, and they actually end up killing their third companion. Holly and Bluebell make it out alive because these huge, healthy rabbits don't know how to fight.
Yeah.
Because they are soft. But yeah, the third rabbit doesn't make it. So still the death warren is taking lives.
Mm-hmm.
It is sad along the way.
And that's where Captain Hawley gets torn up. That's where he gets his ear torn up, and the wounds that he takes are from that encounter.
Yeah, so they make it there, barely alive. And Strawberry, I love Strawberry, actually. He basically says that is a damn shame. Like, he feels the tragedy that they lost this companion who made it out of the warren killing with the gas just to die by the hands of rabbits along the way. Mm-hmm. It is sad, and he feels that. And this is wonderful, this transition, because it talks about how strong their feelings of sympathy are. It says the very strength and vividness of their sympathy listening to the story brings with it a true release. Okay, as he's telling the story, they are living it, they're feeling it. But then afterwards, they can release that emotion and go on to immediate needs and what's happening here and now. It really is a cathartic, healthy retelling of this terrible thing. Mm-hmm. And he does go into detail. I mean, it is a brutal story because it happened. And so at some point, one of them says, "Ooh, this is grim." He's like, "Oh, you don't know grim. It's about to get grim."
Because once the bunnies are gassed, they're developing this land, and this is where the bulldozers come. Yeah. And the bulldozers just take out everything, and it's gone. It is gone. There is nothing left. There are no survivors other than the ones that are telling the story.
Yeah, and then so from there they move on though to the life is now idea, and I love actually how he communicates this devastating tragedy that they all feel so deeply to the gift that they have these immediate things and where they are right now without cheapening the hard thing that happened, but also without dwelling in it ongoing. Because truly, bunnies' lives are short. What, 3 to 5 years? I mean, the duration of this book, it's been maybe 5 or 6 weeks. I mean, a day is a long time in the life of a rabbit. And you feel that in this transition of time. And so they go from this devastation thing to how quickly even Holly feels so much better, even though he's been hurt so deeply.
The story over, the demands of their own hard, rough lives began to reassert themselves in their hearts, in their nerves, their blood, and appetites. Would that the dead were not dead, but there is grass that must be eaten, pellets that must be chewed, haraka that must be passed, holes that must be dug, sleep that must be slept. Odysseus brings not one man to shore with him, yet he sleeps sound beside Calypso, and when he wakes, thinks only of Penelope.
It's such a wonderful mix of just rabbits being rabbits and this deep, emotional, intelligent life that they live. I love it. I love it. And from here, the next bit, there's this actually quite long description of the moonlight. This whole section on the moonlight, I love it. If it weren't so long, I'd read the whole thing. But they're talking about how stark the daylight is. And we take it for granted, right? It makes things show up. But the moonlight says, but moonlight is another matter. It doesn't have the intensity of the sun. And we don't take it for granted in the same way. It doesn't reveal, but it changes what it covers. That's a quote. It's like snow, or I think also dew is illustrated in there. So you admire it while you can, because its time is short. I love that whole thing on the moonlight. It's beautiful. And I think Silver says, oh, what a moon. Let's go enjoy it. And here is where Hazel's work gets acknowledged, because the mouse shows up and tells them about a really great place to find feed.
You're a clever chap, Hazel, said Holly at last. You and your mouse. Mind you, we'd have found the place ourselves sooner or later, but not as soon as this.
He's very pleased.
Yeah.
Chuffed. And here's where our jokester, new to the group, Bluebell, he tells a story. The king's lettuces made him think of it, I think. But he tells a story, and it's called The Trial of El-ahrairah.
This one's great. I love this trial. So El-ahrairah and Rabscuttle are doing what they do. They're living their lives when Prince Rainbow comes and says, you know what, you two, no, you can't live together anymore. You cannot share a hole. Because they used to do that. You're just too clever. You're doing too much. So you guys have to live at opposite ends of the warren and can't share a hole together.
Yeah, he says, you would be stealing the clouds from the sky before the moon had changed twice if they were to keep living together.
Yeah.
So El-ahrairah gets a new roommate.
Yeah. So this is provided by Prince Rainbow. This is Hufsa. What an annoying little rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
So he hangs out. He seems fine enough at first, but everything starts going wrong. It just doesn't work. All the schemes that El-ahrairah starts to do get found out, discovered. It's like there's a man on the inside.
He's a spy.
It doesn't take long for them to figure out it's this guy. But El-ahrairah he's shifty, he's crafty, and he decides, you know what, I'm going to deal with this. Prince Rainbow comes to talk with him, and it's so funny because he's so condescending. He says, if you are careful, or if you are not careful, people will begin to trust you. Because all the schemes aren't working. And he says, I thought I would just stop to thank you for your kindness in looking after Hufsa. He seems quite at home with you. And I love the response. Yes, he does, doesn't he? Said El-ahrairah. We grow in beauty side by side. He starts ranting about how wonderful it is to live with this rabbit that he just can't stand. Well, Prince Rainbow thinks that he has this so in place, that he has him so owned, that he decides to plant a crop of carrots right nearby, this wonderful crop of carrots, because he knows that El-ahrairah isn't going to be able to do it with Hufsa there. And he punishes just the bleakest penalties on El-ahrairah should he steal the carrots.
So that cannot stand.
No. Game on.
I love this actually. So he makes Rabscuttle go collect corn, and he collects like a big old bag of slugs. And you think, what? Why is he doing this? But he finds a hedgehog named Yona. Great name for a hedgehog. Great name in general. Name something Yona. I want to. But he basically, there's this hedgehog. He's like, hey, you want some slugs?
Yeah.
And he puts him up to this thing where he sings to the moon, and he has this whole song. And then they find the pheasant. He's like, hey, you want some corn?
Yeah.
He bribes them to do these weird things. He makes the pheasant go swimming at night. It's odd.
And it says he gives them very specific instructions, which we're about to learn why he gives them those instructions. And then there's one last one. Rabscuttle gets all dressed up. He dyes his tail yellow. He puts weird things in his fur. He gets a white stick that the men smoke that he's got in his mouth. And clearly he's up to something as well. And then this is really where this all kicks off. So El-ahrairah takes Hufsa and says, hey, come with me. I need someone I can trust. Obviously, this is the one person he cannot trust, but he just dupes him into it. He says, come with me. I'm going to steal Prince Rainbow's carrots. Hufsa is excited. He is all about this. He's going to join in, and he starts following. And as they go, they see the hedgehog, and the hedgehog has rose petals all over his body, stuck to his fur in every place. And he's sitting there singing it, and I love his song. Oh, slug-a-moon, oh, grant thy faithful hedgehog's boon. And so Hufsa says, what are you doing? Are you insane? What's going on here? And the hedgehog says, well, don't you know? All hedgehogs have to sing to the moon to make the slugs come out. Surely you know that. And Hufsa is like, oh, yeah, I know that. And then they move to the pheasant that's swimming in the pool. And pheasants don't swim in the pool. But again, it's the same thing where the pheasant tells them, well, surely you know that I have to do this, right? All pheasants do at that time of night. And Hufsa is like, okay, yeah, sure, that's all right. Okay, yeah, I knew that. And then they find Rabscuttle. And Rabscuttle is just looking crazy. And he says he's one of the rabbit messengers of Lord Frith. And again, it's this absurd scene, this thing that's happening, and Hufsa is just taken in. Well, after this, they get to the carrots. They steal them. It talks about how he doesn't know how they stole so many so quickly, but obviously El-ahrairah had some skills that we don't have these days. And they went and they hid them all in a hole.
So Prince Rainbow shows up, says, El-ahrairah, you're under arrest. He's like, why? What did I do? He's like, you stole my carrots. No, I didn't. And he challenges him and like, let me be put to trial. Give me a jury of enemies of El-ahrairah, things that hunt rabbits. Give me a jury. I want a trial. Prince Rainbow says, fine, here we go.
We're doing it.
And so his witness is Hufsa. So Rabscuttle hides because his tail's a ridiculous color.
Yeah, he can't get the red out of it. And while he's doing this, he's moving the carrots from the hole.
So they're not where Hufsa thinks they are. And Hufsa is now on the witness stand. In the interview, he's describing how they went along and they found Yona, the hedgehog, singing to the moon.
And El-ahrairah does this beautifully. He just leads him through it. He's like, oh, so you say I stole the carrots with you. I don't remember that. Can you tell me about the journey?
So Hufsa's describing these ridiculous things. And while all these, stoats and foxes are hungry for rabbit, they really don't like a stupid rabbit who makes up stories about hedgehogs singing to the moon and pheasants swimming at night. So the Hufsa just looks ridiculous. I mean, it's very well done. El-ahrairah gets off scot-free.
Yeah, because they go to look for the carrots in the hole.
They're
They've
not
been moved
there.
already. And so
it's embarrassing for Hufsa.
Yeah, and so Hufsa goes away, and it's a great story.
And they get all the carrots. He's a trickster. He's very good. So that's just Bluebell's story thrown in. They're wonderful stories these rabbits share with one another.
Yeah, if you just compiled the El-ahrairah stories in a book, I would read it.
Yeah.
I would love it. I don't know. There might be more out there that he published. I don't know. But the ones in this are fantastic.
I don't know. This next chapter is called Kiar. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
It's the name of a bird. Kiar.
He's so cool.
It's like a
This is
sound in a name.
another one of my favorite characters. And I love it in books when the authors write in dialect. And this is one where he writes in dialect. Now,
Very well.
Jody and I had a grandfather who spoke Finnish. And he had a little bit of an accent, especially later in life when his memory was starting to go. And so a lot of the way Kihar talks always reminded me a little bit of him. And then I was reading on this that this character was actually, the author based him on a fighter from the Norwegian resistance.
Oh,
And
that's so cool.
I was pretty excited to say, okay, that Nordic thing I heard in his voice, yeah, that was real. So.
Oh,
yeah.
very cool. Yeah, this one starts with a man proverb, never rains but it pours. And then we get the counterpart, the rabbit proverb, where it says, one cloud feels lonely. More fitting.
I have this marked because this is the single proverb from this book that I have probably quoted the most times. That's one that I'll just bring up in conversation because I think it's wonderful.
One cloud feels lonely. So I think it's Bigwig and Hazel. Bigwig and Silver. I don't know. A couple of the rabbits, they see a thing, an unknown animal, and it's kind of big. They think it might be a cat. It's white on the back, but Bigwig can't just go back without news. Oh, I saw something. No, he has to go find out because it's Bigwig and he's awesome. But they find it's this huge gull. We learned it's a black-headed gull, and he's angry and he's injured, but he's yelling at these rabbits. He says, "You come, hurt you damn plenty." And that's how he talks the whole time. Hurt you damn plenty. But Hazel comes up and he's been looking for a bird. He wants reconnaissance, honestly, from the air. He can travel. He knows any bird can travel further than them. So he makes the other rabbits feed this bird.
They're hunting insects. They're
hate
grabbing grubs and insects.
And worms. Hazel goes and finds a worm, but this bird is hungry, so it's a lot of work. Beetles and worms. But they also shelter him in this big, I don't know, I think it's probably what they'd call a scrape, where it's kind of below ground. It's not a hole. But they shelter him because he's injured. Turns out a cat attacked him from behind and injured his wing. He can't fly right now. But initially he's angry, but they feed him, they take care of him, and Bigwig loves this bird.
Oh, yeah. He's tough. He's strong. He's fiery. He's got stories. He's seen the big water.
Yeah, I love how they describe the big water, because the rabbits have no clue what he's talking about. Water that always moves. But clearly this gull has come from the ocean, the big water. But him describing it through Bigwig describing it to Hazel is hilarious. They just don't get it at all. They believe him, but they don't understand.
Yeah. All right, whatever, man. And then I love that some of the rabbits really take this pride in catching insects. So I think Acorn and Pipkin view themselves as the best insect catchers in the warren.
Gotta have a skill.
They really look out for this guy. But Bigwig legitimately loves this bird. I mean, they are friends, but he also starts planting kind of the seed of what they're hoping this bird will do for them. You who are listening have probably noticed already, every rabbit in this warren is a dude.
The buck.
What that means is this warren is not going to last. You said rabbits don't live very long. If they don't find some mothers, this warren is doomed. And Bigwig starts discussing this.
Yeah, it's funny.
Kihar.
Nobody but Hazel puts this together. That, oh, we need those to make a warren thrive. Without girl bunnies, this is not an ongoing, it's a doomed warren. You know, it's like Seven Brides or Seven Brothers or Westward the Women, right? Do you remember that movie?
I do.
It's actually a really good movie. But this is an important thing, right? One bunny plus another bunny makes more bunnies. They don't have any girl bunnies. But Bigwig's like, I got this. I will communicate this, because they have this relationship, he and Kiar. Kiar's the name of the bird. It sounds like a sound, but it is his name. It is both. But they ask him to recon for them. You know, are there other bunnies close by? And Kiar says, yeah, I do this for you, kind of thing. But he's gone days and days. And that's a long time for rabbits. But Fiver says, nope, he's going to come back. Somehow he knows. I don't know how.
He does.
He's awesome, though. Oh, so when Kiara comes back, he comes back with news. Okay, so turns out there's a farm nearby that has a hutch with some bunnies in it. He doesn't know how many. but definitely some bunnies there. There's also a very big warren. What is it? A couple days,
2
probably.
days.
He guesses.
2 days journey.
He's not a bunny. He doesn't know. He's actually very short-tempered with their limitations because they can't fly. Lame. But it's discussed, and they all feel the need for it. So they say, yep, we're going to send an envoy to the big warren. Okay, it's a big warren. We'll go ask them if there's those that want to come join us.
Mm-hmm. And Hazel is very selective about who he picks to go on this envoy to the warren. Bigwig can't go. Bigwig is just too much of a bruiser. He's too much of a hothead. He is not going to be a good ambassador. But Captain Hawley, who was captain of the El-ahrairah, yeah, that's a good choice. And I think Strawberry goes, and Silver, and Buckthorn.
And Buckthorn. The rank and file go. Silver's a steady guy as well. And Strawberry's great. He's the rabbit from the Death Warren who's really tried to step up and show his value. And it notes that he is flattered to be included in this.
He's so proud.
And
He's
he
a part
represents himself well. So way to go, Strawberry. We're proud of you.
The envoy is off. They are going, and everyone is waiting for the envoy to come back. But Hazel isn't happy to just sit there doing nothing.
He gets some ego.
He's got a little bit, there's a little bit of the El-ahrairah in him, you know, the desire to go do something. But we see this in so many other stories too, right? This is the whole premise of Dame Ragnell, when King Arthur decides he needs to go have an adventure and ends up getting trouble in the woods and needing Gawain to come save him. This is so many stories where the king gets antsy, tries to do something, and really sort of gets into trouble. And so the farm has cage bunnies.
And it's just down the hill.
Hazel thinks, well, you know, what if when Holly comes back, there's already a couple does here? I do enjoy this. The farm is called Nuthanger Farm, and there's a note at the beginning of my book that says, Nuthanger Farm is a real place, like all the other places in the book. But Mr. and Mrs. Kane, their little girl Lucy, and their farm hands are fictitious and bear no intentional resemblance to any persons known to me, living or dead. So it's a real place. The people aren't real, though.
Yeah, but Hazel wants something to show. That's a course. Something to show to the others. You know, he's got the itch in his bunny paws, and he recruits Pipkin to go with him as backup because he trusts him to just listen. He'll do what he's told.
Well, and Pipkin will do anything for Hazel. So if Hazel says come, Pipkin will go.
And so they're going to head down the hill to this farm. He kind of knows where it is from Kiara's description, but really Hazel's just feeling lucky, kind of charmed. He even finds a rat to guide them, to give them instructions. He's like, I knew it. You know, it made me think of not King Arthur, sadly. Should have thought of that. Felix Felixus in Harry Potter, where he drinks the potion and just everything's going to go his way.
Everything works.
Hazel's got that going for him that night.
The other reference?
Oh.
Are you going to say the same one?
I don't know. Matt Cawthon?
Yes, of course. When the dice start rolling in his head and he feels it shift.
I was going to say the same one.
Well done, Jody. Well done.
That's from the Wheel of Time. It's an 14-book series that is wonderful. I don't know how we'd get into it, but Matt Cawthon.
That really starts happening in book 3 and 4.
I don't know how you remember because there's so many. But
14 plus a sequel or a prequel.
Anyway, Matt Cawthon, great. But Hazel does. He leaves Pipkin to look for cats because they know it's a farm. There's probably cats. They have a dog. I love how he notices the dog. The dog's in a doghouse, and he has a rope connector.
Yeah, he's tied up. A lead.
And he wonders, why a rope? And then he thinks, because a restless dog would make noise if it had a metal chain.
This is a smart rabbit. That's Blackberry level thinking right there.
Oh, yeah, he gets it. So he notices the rope and the dog's tied up. They do see some cats. Apparently, if they see them coming, they're not worried about cats. They're faster than cats. And they seem to just know that. But he leaves Pipkin to watch. And they do see some cats over there. But he talks to these hutch bunnies and describes life on the down and asks them, would you be interested? Do you have does in there? And it's a mix of bucks and does. And he says, hey, all are welcome. Okay, we're not here to just steal your does. Okay, and at some point, he says, we're going to come back. And Pipkin says, hey, there's a cat coming.
Yeah.
He sounds the alarm. And Hazel plays this really cool.
He does. It's just smooth. He hangs out. He baits the cat And he tells Pipkin, be ready to bolt when I do, but just chill out. He's almost teasing the cat, like feeding there in front of it. And he's waiting until the cat bolts. And then when the cat bolts, they scram and they're able to escape it. And he tells Pipkin afterwards, like, yeah, that's what you got to do with cats. If you run first, they'll come after you and get you. But if you wait for the bolt, you're in the clear. Yeah. You're safe.
And cats hate to look silly. They totally do. And so the cat stops and like licks his paw. Like, it's all cool. So yeah, he had the Felix's good luck charm going there. And he brings this news back. Although Fiver talks to Hazel first. He's like, where were you? Because they share a burrow, right? A sleeping area. He's like, where were you? And he warns Hazel. He's like, if you do this, I think there's danger. For you specifically. He tells Hazel, you are in danger if you do this. This is a mistake. But Hazel doesn't listen to Fiver this time.
It is interesting because he asked Fiver, are you getting a feeling? Are you getting a premonition? And Fiver says, no, it's just a bad idea. I don't always get a premonition. I didn't sense the crow. I didn't sense, this and that. So bad things can happen even if I don't sense it ahead of time. And so Hazel, I think, would listen to Fiver anytime at this point the Fiver said, I sense this thing like he has done multiple times in the past. But that's not what this is. This is Fiver's judgment. And Fiver says, this is a bad idea and you shouldn't do it.
And Hazel does not listen.
He
takes it to the other bucks. And they're all excited, right? They all have that rabbitness in them. They like to, sneak into vegetable gardens and steal stuff. That's part of being a rabbit. So they get on board.
And Bigwig is so excited to take on a cat.
They practice.
He wants to take out a cat. He's just ready.
And in here somewhere, it's like, I think it's a rainy day. For some reason, Dandelion tells a story about a man who makes a big wooden hutch when the earth floods. It's clearly a Noah story, but in Bunny World. But yeah, they practice battling cats, but they're stuck sitting and waiting, and so they're telling this story. It's a Noah story inside of it. I thought it was really interesting. But then they plan this raid when the weather clears, and it's Blackberry's job to get the hutch open. There's a lot of pressure on that guy.
Yeah, he seems very confident, though.
He does.
He's like, oh yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, we'll figure that one out.
Hazel does compromise a little bit. So he tells Fiver, I'll stay up at the top of the lane. If you're worried about me, I won't go down. I'll stay up at the top and I'll wait for the others to do it.
Yeah, so they do a raid on this farm, and Bigwig is satisfied almost immediately. A cat comes around the corner. He cuffs the thing. It has a great thrill. Cat runs off. It's really funny. And they describe in clever detail, I think, the leather hasps on this hutch and how they release these bunnies out. It's really interesting. But these hutch rabbits have never been outside, and they are scared when they get out. And so when the dog starts barking and these rabbits are loose, Bigwig and the others, they run. They run up to Hazel in the lane. And Hazel asks, where are the others? And he's like, oh, we left them. And so Hazel tells Bigwig and Dandelion, okay, get these ones up the hill, because they're scared too. Get them up the hill, get them, safe. I'm going to go back in. And so Hazel goes back into the farm to try to help these two hutch rabbits that they had left behind in the, as the dog was barking. And they are scared. And Hazel's wonderful. He's talking to them about how great it is up on the down and how we can, get moving. But right then, hurru-do-do. How do you say it? Hurru-do-do.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a car or any man machine pulls in and the lights are bright and the rabbits are just stunned. And so Hazel is able to run with one of the hutch rabbits. One they put back into the box. But they also pull out a gun. Yeah. So, okay, these are hutch rabbits. They're his, the man's daughter's pets. But they know that that's a wild rabbit, and they shoot him. They shine a light on him, and they shoot him. Hazel doesn't know what it is, but he's hurt. And he crawls into a ditch to escape these men trying to pick him up. He's bleeding. He's hurt. He crawls into a ditch. And I think that's where the chapter ends, where he crawls in, and all you can see is this trickle of rabbit blood.
Yeah, and then Bigwig and Blackberry, they're taking the others back up to the Warren, and within the chapter, they actually meet up with Fiver. And they tell Fiver, there's bad news, Hazel, and Fiver interrupts him and says, I know now. And this is where it ends. And it actually ends as this, sorrow, as they've lost Hazel.
Yeah, they think he's dead.
Holly limps back in. All the rabbits are with him, but they are all beat up, some seriously hurt. And so this is bleak.
And
this
they brought
is a dark,
no
dark
does
moment.
with them.
And they brought no does with them.
So the rabbits that come back are only their rabbits. There are no does. The idea was that he'd come back with does with him. So here we have Fiver Beyond. He has this visionary dream. I mean, a man speaks to him in this dream in vernacular, interestingly.
This is another example of Fiver being a seer. He's a prophet. Fiver is not all in this world. There is some other world that Fiver lives in. And the more he goes into it, the more problems he has in this world. But for Hazel, he's all in.
Yeah, so when he wakes up, though, he knows where to find Hazel, and he knows he's alive. So he recruits Blackberry because the whole Warren thinks that Hazel is gone. They are devastated. They think their luck is gone.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just everything's going wrong. But Blackberry goes along with him, and Fiver finds the bloody hole. That's how it's described in his dream. He finds the ditch where Hazel has been lying. And this one is interesting because you get a perspective of Hazel hurting for a while. He doesn't want to come back.
Mm-hmm.
He is past the point of pain. He had suffered with this bullet in his back leg and past the point of pain. He didn't want to come back, but Fiver called him and he mustered the strength to do it. It's tough. It's hard reading.
It is. It is hard. Because again, by this time, I am so invested in these rabbits. I mean, as characters, and the thought of Hazel going down, it's just, it's heartbreaking.
Well, and the Warren is devastated. This is a good quote. It says, like the pain of a bad wound, the effect of a deep shock takes some while to be felt. And the rabbits are overcome with the conviction that their luck was gone. And here, I think, is where Holly tells his story of his trip to El-ahrairah. Or is that later?
No, it's here. So their conviction that their luck is gone is not helped by Holly's story, by what he tells them. And he tells them the story before Hazel comes back up. And so they're still, grieving. In the depths of grief on this. The title of the chapter 27, you can't imagine it unless you've been there. He tells the story of this Warren, and it's called El-ahrairah. And it is a crazy place. It is ruled by this giant of a rabbit who is vicious and cruel and smart. And his entire worldview is based around gaining as much power for himself as possible and protecting the Warren from men specifically. So that means hiding. And so what that leads to is this heavily constricted Warren. Digging is regulated. All the rabbits are marked. They are bit on one part of their body, and that's their group for the rest of their life.
Yeah, they're branded.
They send out these patrols outside around to hunt for other rabbits, to not let rabbits escape. No one can leave this warren. So when Holly and this ambassador show up, they're like, hey, this is great. Your warren's overcrowded. We learn that female rabbits, if they're overcrowded or under stress, even if they're pregnant, their bodies will resorb the babies so they're not delivered. And this is happening all over the place in this warren. And so Holly thinks this is going to be great. He says, well, we'll talk to you guys. He'll talk to the council. We'll ask them to send some of the does with us. This will be wonderful. And they get shut down immediately. It's not, are we going to make a deal? It's, you're not leaving. Here is how you are now going to fit into our society here.
Yeah, they come as an envoy and they are treated as prisoners. They are absorbed into this big warren. I do love Strawberry. So General Woundward is the head of it all and the mastermind behind it, but they have the council, and that's who Strawberry and Holly are talking to. This is a great line, though, because Holly commends Strawberry trying to communicate with these very angry bunnies. He says, animals don't behave like men. If they have to fight, they fight. And if they have to kill, they kill. But they don't sit down and set their wits to work to devise ways of spoiling other creatures' lives and hurting them. They have dignity and animality. But it doesn't work. And
No.
they are relegated to one of the marks. It's one of the groups that live there. But you figure out this is a really big warren, and the marks are very separate from each other. So they don't, not everybody knows everybody by any means. It's really overcrowded. Turns out there are does who tried to leave because they want their own space. They want to have their own litters. They want to do this. They were turned down. But Holly's awesome, and he tricks the captain of their group because not everybody knows everybody. He says, Woodward wants to see you. So that guy gets suckered. He gets in big trouble later, we learn. But they get to run away. But they are hunted. They are hunted by the Ausla of this scary warren. And their Ausla is well trained. And like the wide patrols, man, they know what they're doing. They're big and strong and well trained. Holly Klein and his, I keep trying to say men. Holly and his other bunnies, because they are bunnies, but they climb this really steep, almost unnatural embankment. It's this hill up, it's flat on the top, there's these wooden slats, and they fall down the other side. And the El-ahrairah, Ausla, that's a funny word to say, but they're up on the top of this embankment looking down, and Holly describes how the night was split apart with noise and light. Frith sends a messenger to take out these enemies for them. There's no other way he can explain it. And it's funny to read it as a person what their rabbit interpretation would be. Clearly, it's a train.
Yeah.
This train comes through and just takes out this patrol that was hunting them. But these rabbits are overwhelmed, and they feel like their God saved them. Interesting.
And because otherwise they would not have gotten away.
Yeah.
The whole group is very clear. This is an impossible scenario. This warren is full of rabbits that are tough and strong and smart and just mean and controlling. And so there is no hope here for us getting does out of this warren.
But I think it's right in here that Blackberry shows up and lets them know Hazel is alive. Yeah. And here it's describing some of Hazel's just agony as he's going through, and he's coming up the hill, and it's so hard for him. And the bird, Kiar, he's like, oh, you know about guns? Men with guns. And they're like, what's a gun? But he eats small things all the time. And so he says, you have to get the stones out.
Yeah.
He's a very knowledgeable big bird.
Get the little stones out, and then he will heal.
So he gets these stones out of Hazel's leg. And so now we know he'll actually get better. So it's a complete reversal of them without luck at all to be, oh no, their chief rabbit is alive and back, and he's going to get better. He's got a wound in his leg, but he's alive. And here's where Hazel and Fiver are talking, and they've come a long way. And Hazel thanks him. He says, none of us would be here without you. Not even just this recent experience, but leaving the warren way back when, right? And here's Fiver. He's so existential because he has this whole, well, are we even here or are we there? Where is but where is where? I mean, it's this very deep bunny conversation. But Fiver is still there, and how Hazel's back. And Hazel says, in terms of the does and making this warren a reality ongoing, they still need the does. And, quote, the real hole has still got to be dug. This is still a problem that they have to fix.
Hazel is a leader, and he's going to make this happen. And he starts planning, and he starts working with some of the other rabbits. And most of the rabbits don't know what's going to happen. Some of the rabbits stay behind in the warren, but Hazel sets up a group to go. And it's pretty much everyone that left with them originally, except for Buckthorn, because
he went
he's
before.
hurt.
And he doesn't have to go back. Plus Bluebell.
Plus
Bluebell
Bluebell
wants to go and make some jokes.
Yeah.
But he tells Blackberry, you're the guy to come up with the problem, or to solve the puzzle. You got to do 3 things. 1, we got to get the does out of El-ahrairah. Number 2, we got to shut down the pursuit because they're going to come after us. And number 3, we have to be impossible to find afterwards. Blackberry, you're it.
Yeah.
Come up with a plan.
He also is clearly doing something with Bigwig here. So Bigwig is coming on this trip, and we don't know what. We don't know what's being asked of Bigwig, but something is being asked of Bigwig. We have just learned about these patrols, that anyone getting close to this warren is in risk of being captured and caught by these patrols. And Hazel very bluntly tells everybody else in the group, I'm not going to tell you the plan, because if you're captured, they will make you talk and then they'll know it. So there's only a few of them that know what's going on. And the big ones are Hazel, Blackberry, Bigwig, and Kihar.
And here, Dandelion gets to tell Hazel's story about his action in the farmyard. And this is where they feel that their luck is really back and that Kihar, the bird, is going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
But he's in a hurry. He wants to get back to the big water.
Yeah.
So they know they got to go now. And so they are off to El-ahrairah. So now we are part 3 called El-ahrairah. I think it might be like El-ahrairah. I don't know.
There's another story that gets told here because Bigwig is not okay. Bigwig is getting antsy. We don't know what's being asked of him, but we know something's coming up. I mean, he goes and chases what was the animal he goes after? Like a stoat or something?
It's a fox.
A fox, yeah. I mean, he is on edge.
I like Hazel. He's trying to give him something to do, and he calls him El-ahrairah, which is king of cats, because he loves to battle cats and he's practiced. So Hazel's trying to navigate it, but yeah. Bigwig is off. There's something weird going on. But it says about this group that I like this. All rabbits love to trespass and steal when it comes to the point. So they're all on board of breaking into this warren, but they don't know the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Bigwig knows the plan and he is tense. So yes, he asked for a story.
And a specific story. He asked for the story of El-ahrairah and the black rabbit of Inley. This was the rabbit that terrified him. So this is a horror story. Hazel tries to talk him out of it. He kind of looks a little Pipkin and says, no, he'll be too scared. But Bigwig is going to have this. This is the story he wants to hear. And it's scary.
Yeah, he tells Dandelion, don't leave anything out.
Yeah. All the hard bits.
So Pipkin does get scared, and Fiver's great. He basically says, okay, hey, let's go eat over there. They don't make him listen to the whole thing. But this is a horror story. So in this one, El-ahrairah, the rabbits are dying. They're stuck down the holes. This is after the King Darzan that they stole the lettuces from. He has all the holes covered.
Yeah,
They're
he
trapped.
comes in battle. He comes in war against the rabbits.
They're starving out these rabbits. They're trapped in the holes. And El-ahrairah is the leader of his people. His rabbit people. I'm sorry. Using people is hard.
I'm okay with using people for this.
His rabbit people. And so it's getting desperate. And he decides that he's going to make a deal with basically death itself.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about the black rabbit of the moon of Inlay. And there's all kinds of theories about him. But the storyteller, Dandelion, says, the truth is, or so they taught me, that he, the black rabbit too, he too serves Lord Frith and does no more than his appointed task to bring about what must be. Which, you know, it reminds me of is the North Wind.
Yeah.
Very much. He is tasked with death, but it is only in the right time.
I was going to say, or death in Discworld, or death in The Book Thief, or. There's a bunch of
many
these
instances. Of the episodes we've done, I thought of the North Wind. We haven't done those other ones yet, but you're right.
True.
But El-ahrairah and Rabscuttle, they escape to find him. And nobody really knows the way, but clearly their hero knew the way, although it is terrifying getting there. And they run from the black rabbit when they find him.
Mm-hmm.
He's so scary to them. He is death walking. But when they kind of come across him again, he says, why have you come here? You don't belong here. You're alive. And this is where death is. And their back and forth is really interesting because El-ahrairah doesn't really have a plan here, but he knows he has to do something. He has to find a way to save his people.
My lord, replied El-ahrairah, I have come to give you my life for my people. And the black rabbit drew his claws along the floor. Bargains, bargains, El-ahrairah, he said. There is not a day or a night but a doe offers her life for her kittens, or some honest captain of Ausla his life for his chief rabbits. Sometimes it is taken, sometimes it is not, but there is no bargain. For here, what he is what must be. The trickster's out of luck.
Yeah, but there's this 3, right? We're always back to the 3s in stories and fairy stories. That's what happens here. There's 3 instances where basically the black rabbit says, "Oh, I guess you can stay, but you want to play a game?"
Yeah. Want to play a game with death.
And they play what's called Bob Stones. I believe there's a footnote.
Bob Stones is a traditional game of rabbits. It is played with small stones, fragments of sticks, or the like. Fundamentally, it is a very simple kind of gambling on the lines of odds or evens. A cast of stones on the ground is covered by the player's front paw. The opponent must then hazard some sort of surmise about its nature. For example, 1 or 2, light or dark, rough or smooth.
So it's this game they clearly know, and apparently El-ahrairah is a great player of Bob Stones usually when he's not playing with death. But the consequence for losing is that he loses his whiskers and his tail. He loses to the black rabbit on this first game.
And it's not even close.
Not even
It
close.
is not even close.
And so Rapscuttle is always his faithful companion, and I forget what he gets to replace his whiskers and tail. It's vegetables of some kind.
Yeah, or like yarn for the whiskers.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's he's maimed.
But
at
he's
this
desperate.
point.
He has to stay. So the next challenge is a storytelling competition. And the black rabbit goes first. And his story is so terrifying that El-ahrairah loses his senses. But his consequence this time for losing is to lose his ears. And so the black rabbit takes his ears when he can't tell a story.
Rapscuttle grabs some leaves, some cabbage leaves to replace for his ears. But he's maimed. I mean, he's a rabbit without ears, a rabbit without a tail, without whiskers, and hopeless. These first 2 encounters with him have just been absolutely hopeless. And Rapscuttle tells him, "Let's go away." The black rabbit tells him, "Go away. You're alive. You don't belong here. Leave." But El-ahrairah won't leave.
But he also is no longer afraid. He happens across the black rabbit has his own owsla, and they're used to be terrifying. But what else does El-ahrairah have to lose? Just his people, and he's losing them already. And he asks what they're guarding. And throughout this book, they mention a sickness that comes onto rabbits called the white blindness. And clearly they're all afraid of it. It's catching, it's contagious, it takes over warrens. And they always send for sickness when they find a new hole. And the owsla tell them that's what's in there. We keep it here for when we use it. And so El-ahrairah jumps into this vault where the white blindness is kept, and he stays in it until he's confident that he caught it. He's going to take it back to the people and trapping his people in their holes and get them all sick. He's willing to make that sacrifice. It's interesting though when he comes out because the black rabbit is there too. And he asks him, "Do you know how someone catches the white blindness?" And El-ahrairah doesn't know. But the black rabbit tells him it's by the fleas carried in a rabbit's ears. And El-ahrairah doesn't have ears. And he is devastated. He thought this was what was gonna work.
At this point, El-ahrairah has nothing left to give, nothing left to offer. He tried to give his life and he wouldn't take it. He's lost all these parts of his body. The black rabbit, though, is... there's pity in the black rabbit. He says, "El-ahrairah," said the black rabbit at last, "this is a cold warren, a bad place for the living, and no place at all for warm hearts and brave spirits. You are a nuisance to me. Go home. I myself will save your people. Do not have the impertinence to ask me when. There is no time here. They are already saved." And so El-ahrairah and Rapscuttle leave. He heals up sort of with his cabbage ears and, yarn whiskers, and this broken shell of a rabbit returns to his warren with Rapscuttle, as always, faithfully beside him. And they start asking for who's the captain of the owsla now, where are such and such people? And none of the rabbits know the names. None of the rabbits are at war anymore. It's a thriving colony with all sorts of rabbits. And it turns out that time has passed. A lot of time has passed. The warren has been saved, but El-ahrairah is no longer a part of it. They've moved on from him, which was what he wanted. That's what he was going for, but he has to see this and has to see this leaving. And then this next scene is just so beautiful. It's one of my favorites. Lord Frith shows back up. This isn't Prince Rainbow. This isn't the Black Rabbit. It's Frith. It's the rabbit god. And he shows up and he talks with him and he comforts him. And Frith gives him back a tail, gives him back whiskers, and he gives him ears. But the ears have starlight in them. So El-ahrairah for forever has ears with starlight shining out. And Lord Frith basically says, otherwise it's the only way we're going to catch you if we make your ears glow. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I like that the reason I think that he gives him these gifts back is because El-ahrairah learned some wisdom through this pain. This is painful for him to come back to this warren where nobody knows him. He doesn't know anybody. Time has just passed. And yes, El-ahrairah, if he's angry, he says, no, but I have learned that with creatures that one loves, suffering is not the only thing for which one may pity them. A rabbit who doesn't know when a gift has made him safe is poorer than a slug, even though he may think otherwise himself. And Frith says, this is wisdom. This is the start of wisdom. And then he gives him the gifts.
The other thing this made me think about, El-ahrairah is obviously a Christ figure in this. So who could save the rabbits? It could only be a rabbit. So it makes me think of the incarnation, and it makes me think of the sacrifice, right, of Jesus giving his life and giving his body, taking wounds upon his own body for the salvation of the other humans, as El-ahrairah does here for the salvation of the other rabbits. But then when all is said and done, he gets it back. His body is restored. His body is glorified. He has these great gifts, but the evidence of the wounds are still there. And so there's so much in the starlight ears that really just struck home to me on this read through of it. So.
It's beautiful. And we're getting better at his name.
I think so.
Just takes repetitions. But suddenly there's a fox.
Oh my.
Oh my. Pipkin, I think, jumps in. There's a fox in the comb. And this is where Bigwig just swaggers out. He's had enough waiting, whatever the plan is. He's been tense. It's very rash. It's very stupid. But he basically leads this fox off for no reason. And suddenly there's a rabbit squealing.
Yeah.
So the group can't see Bigwig. They saw him run off with a fox tailing him. And then a rabbit screams. But then Bigwig pops back up. And it turns out he inadvertently led this fox into a group of other rabbits. He didn't know them, strangers. He led a fox straight into them. Not what he meant to do.
But ended up being a good thing, because that's obviously an El-ahrairah patrol.
Yeah.
That was out to catch them. And so the fox kind of tidied that up a little bit, took at least one of them out, and Bigwig is back. This clears his head.
He feels better.
He's ready to do what he needs to do.
Yeah, so the group crosses train tracks. They get help from Kiara as to where to go. Because the group doesn't want to go to the warren itself. They're trying to find a place to wait. And so Kiara the bird helps them not get caught by patrols. And they end up crossing a river. And there's a bridge. These rabbits have no idea what a bridge is. But I think Fiver is the one who really steps up, because Hazel's confused. What am I supposed to? What is a bridge? Mm-hmm. The bird keeps talking about a bridge. What's a bridge? Nobody knows. Fiver's like, nope, it's good. I'm going to go. So here's where Fiver really helps Hazel lead. Hazel's trying to lead, and he does a great job, but Fiver really supports him in this. And this group of rabbits, they end up by this river. And again, Hazel doesn't really understand, but remember when Fiver and Pipkin floated way back when? Blackberry finds a boat on this river. So this is the way, he says, this will solve number 3. Or how we become impossible to find afterwards. This is it. And so now Bigwig is up. They're like, okay, here's the plan. Time to go. Bigwig, head on in. The plan is for Bigwig to infiltrate this El-ahrairah warren, because he's awesome. He's big. He's experienced. They know that they'll want him. Other rabbits maybe not, but Bigwig, they will want him for their Ausla. So his job is to infiltrate, find does, and then escape to this agreed upon point where they will escape on this boat.
It's so cool.
Oh,
And this
man.
is where Bigwig is just awesome. And there's several chapters here where he's in El-ahrairah, but this is all like Mission Impossible cloak and dagger stuff where he's showing up and he's like, yeah, I was looking for you. I want to be here. And he's this huge, strong rabbit, and Woundwort takes to him immediately. He sees the potential. And so this general appoints him as an officer of the Ausla. He starts to learn the process. He gets marked. He gets his bite that has to then heal, and he starts working his way around. Holly had met some of the does that had asked to leave, and there was one, Hisentle, who was the main doe, the one that seemed to have the most spirit and the most interest. And so Bigwig starts to look for her. Fortunately, his captain, his leader, also has identified her as kind of a problem child. And so he encourages Bigwig to talk with her, to try and get her back on side. Well, Bigwig can then use this as a way of interacting. The other big thing that we see within El-ahrairah is the rabbit Blackavar. Blackavar was a rabbit who had tried to escape and had gotten taken out by the sentries, brought back, and they had stripped his ears.
He's mutilated.
Shredded them. And they made him stand under guard when the rabbits would go up to feed so that everyone could see what would happen to somebody who broke the rules. And Bigwig decides early on, this guy's going with me. I'm not leaving without Blackavar.
I love Bigwig's heart, man. He is good-hearted despite his big muscle and simple brain. He will not leave without this just sad prisoner. It's wrong, and he feels that. We do learn some backstory for General Woundwort.
Mm-hmm.
The guy is huge. He's tragic. He watched his mom die when he was a baby. He's the only one that survived. He's just a tough bugger. He'd take over warrens and make himself their chief rabbit, but he does have this fear of men. And so you mentioned they hide evidence of a warren. El-ahrairah is hidden. They bury their own raka, that's their pellets and poop. It's not natural to rabbits at all to do this. And he forces it. He loves power. He makes those powerful around him. But it does say he's not a mere bully. He knew how to encourage and fill others with the spirit of emulation so that others in his Ausla want to be powerful too.
Mm-hmm.
He can lead, and you see that. But it's different, clearly, than how Hazel would lead. He's a control freak. That's why nobody can. They have this terrible overcrowding problem. Everybody knows it. Those want to leave. And he won't allow it. He has the skills and ability, but he gets short-sighted with power. He's a power-hungry rabbit.
Yeah.
It sounds so silly to say, but it is wonderfully told.
And he's terrifying.
He is terrifying.
The warren is struggling. Bigwig can see the way the warren's struggling. And what I find fascinating about part of this is while he's down there in the burrows, he hears poetry again. These rabbits are speaking poetry, and they're doing it from a sense of pain and a sense of hopelessness, very similar to what the Death Warren was doing. But it speaks to Bigwig here, where he didn't get anything from the first time. This one moves him. I mean, Bigwig has grown, he's changed, and he's experienced some of this pain and hopelessness. And I just think that's interesting. The poetry makes another appearance, but in this setting, it's not bad.
Yeah, it is still sad, but this is about their desperation to be who they're supposed to be. And he feels that too, and the opportunity for them to live that life. So it all has to be very discreet because they will kill them if they find any, secrets or trying to escape. But Hisentle, that doe, she's a lot like Fiverr. She's with Bigwig, and she has dreams and prophecies. She tells them that we can escape, but it's going to be dangerous. But we can handle that. There will be fear and danger at nightfall. And she also sees a dog and a rope, and it snaps, and a rabbit riding in a car. I mean, she's like, it's crazy. I don't know. And she attributes it to her own struggles because she's tried to break out of this warren. You get the sense that these does are reabsorbing litters kind of constantly, and it's really devastating. It's rabbit miscarriage. I mean, they are struggling with lack of hope. It mentions how secrets can't be kept in a warren. And so don't tell anybody before the time, right? The less people know ahead, the better. And then thunder comes and it's stifling. And it talks about how nobody feels good when thunder's on the horizon. And it's days out still. Bigwig is able to communicate with Kiar, the bird, but he gets in trouble.
Yeah. What are you doing talking to that bird? It's unusual. Everything unusual gets reported.
Yeah. And so he comes with a good story, though. He's like, oh, I was just trying to impress my captain, because that's applauded there. You should be ambitious. You should be, rising up for reputation and power. But the moment that the Does and Bigwig and Blackavar are planning to escape, the moment Woundwort calls to Bigwig and says, hey, come talk to me. Plan is foiled.
Yeah, not happening that night.
We didn't find out his secret. It's he wants to talk to him about really why were you talking to that bird?
Mm-hmm.
He wants to kind of feel out Bigwig a little bit. And he tells him, hey, I want to take you on a patrol soon. That's where the real opportunity to advance comes in. This is your time. So it does wreck their chance that night, though. And now more of the Does know the secret because they were ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't happen then.
So the final day, when this all goes down, one of the Does gets taken. She's blabbing. She's speaking about things she shouldn't. And again, everything unusual gets reported. And so she gets taken by the council. And this means they're on the clock and this has to happen. Fortunately, some things work out very well for Bigwig right here.
He's got some luck going too.
Oh, yeah. With this major thunderstorm coming in, they're told that their group, is not going to be able to go up and feed at their regular time. And so the leader tells Bigwig, who's, an officer of this group, tell the other guy, make sure he knows what he's doing. Silflay's off. I have to go do this other thing, basically. And Bigwig's, roger that. I got it. But that's not what he's going to do. He goes up top and he says, okay, Silflay's early to get ahead of the thunder. He doesn't go find the other guy. And the two guards at the front are the two that are guarding Blackavar. And this is where he basically goes. He takes out the guards. Blackavar steps up. Blackavar is not beaten, and he helps fight to free himself. And the Does come out, and now Bigwig and the Does are on the run.
In the rain, thunderstorm, and they told the Does that this bird would help fight for them. And this was this great encouragement, because who's ever heard of that? That's amazing. But he doesn't show up. And so the Does are scattered, but they are part of this warren where you follow orders. So the hutch rabbits at the farm, they didn't know what they were doing. They were scared and they stopped. These rabbits, you say go, they go. So they're running in the rain to this collection point. And it is great because some of the officers show up because Afrafa sounds the alarm. Mm-hmm. They're sentries on duty. So they've escaped, but narrowly. And there's people after them.
And I love that there's a map.
There is a map.
There's a map that shows the flight of Bigwig and the Does, and then the path of Woundwort, because Woundwort is on them.
Despite the surprise, despite the weather, despite when he pops up, a giant gull attacks him, he is undaunted. Woundwort is unflappable. He hides in a ditch and he parallels Bigwig's path as they go. It's amazing. So while Bigwig and his Does and all these, they're running toward the bridge and the boat, the rendezvous point, Woundwort is making a plan that whole time and in parallel in a spot that's safe from this bird that he knows will come attack them. He's impressive.
Oh, yeah. He is a leader in his own right. I mean, we get to see the leadership of Hazel throughout this book. Woundwort is no less a leader, but in different ways and to different ends.
They do get toward this boat, but those have no idea what's going on. What's a boat? What am I supposed to do? And Hazel's great. He's stuck in the rain with his teeth on this rope because it was his job to not bite through it too early. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really know what's going to happen, but time it right.
So he's just holding it.
And so they couldn't get the Does on the boat. But what gets them on the boat is when General Woundwort shows up, and the guy's terrifying, so they bolt onto the only reasonably safe spot.
The Does will listen to Bigwig. They won't listen to the others because all the rabbits are there now. But finally, they're on the boat. And this scene is so cool because Woundwort has got them. He knows he's got them. He's there. He's ready to kill and maim and just do what he does. And then Hazel bites through the rest of the rope, and the boat zips on down the river, and Woundwort is left just watching it go away.
They describe his face as the boat pulls into the current, and there's a bunny word we have not mentioned yet. Thorn. Thorn is when a bunny is in stupor, when they're stuck, when they're panicked and cannot move. One of his officers describes Woundwort as Thorn, and he hates it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this boat goes down this river, and honestly, all those rabbits, they're exhausted, they're confused, they're just, the weather's terrible, but Kiar helps them. They would not have done this, would not have been successful without Kiar. And he helps them down the river. He warns them when a bridge is coming and to get low in the boat. They actually get stuck on this small thing. He's like, don't worry about it. Hop in the water. And Hazel has this long mental issue, like, does he mean he'd be fine in the water, or that a rabbit would be fine in the water? Because those are two different things. But it turns out he's right. It pulls them into this mud bog. So it's not great. It's not great for them. Not a place they can stay, but they're at least out of the boat and they're on the bank. And most of them are alive. All the rabbits who came with Hazel are alive, and they have, like 10 does with them?
Yeah, one of the does gets struck by the bridge, doesn't get down in time, and breaks her back on the bridge. So one of the does doesn't make it. Bigwig is hurt. I mean, in the fight to free Blackavar, he took some teeth to the body, and so he's got an injury. But yeah, they're all alive, and so they're able to rest for a little bit, and then they start the journey home. The journey home is interesting because the Afrafan patrols are still around. They're still looking for them. And so they're trying to hide from that as much as they can. They don't really know what they are. But again, Kihar can guide them a bit and sort of show them where to go. Although he leaves.
He's in a hurry to get back to the big water. And I love Bigwig tells them, like, hey, when you come back, because he says, hey, when the winter comes and it gets cold on the water, I'll come back, and live with you again for a while. And Bigwig says, come down big, like you came down at Woundwort, surprise us all. And Kiar's great. He's like, I will come down and scare all the little big bigs, because there will be all the bunnies, baby bunnies around them. That's great. They're so cute.
That was actually one of my favorite lines from early on when Bigwig was, where they're starting to talk about actually having does. And Bigwig, what does he say? Not a doubt of it, said Bigwig. Let's hope they're back soon. I'm looking forward to a nice doe and a litter of kittens in my burrow. Lots of little bigwigs, Hazel. Think of that and tremble.
Yikes.
On the way home, Blackavar starts to come into his own as well.
He's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, he is not beaten by what happened to him. And he is helpful. He's perky. He's optimistic. He's good-natured. He gives good advice. It's not all listened to. Bigwig actually makes a mistake on this and doesn't listen to some of his advice at one point, and they do lose another rabbit to a fox, I think. He really just comes in with it and is a part of the group and is phenomenal.
Yeah, and there's no hard feelings when his advice isn't listened to. Apparently that was a cultural thing where they're from, but it's all good. He's part of the team. And so they're approaching back to the downs. So Kiar's gone, but they're feeling within sight of home, and they take a break. But in so doing, they happen across one of the officers on a wide patrol from the Afrafan Warren.
Mm-hmm.
And he oversteps himself a little bit because he only sees, 3 of them together?
Yeah.
And he steps out and says, hey, you're coming with me. And then all these other bucks and does come out. They are clearly outnumbered. And so Hazel lets them go. And I think Blackavar says here, that's a mistake.
Yeah, says kill him. Kill him. Don't let anyone get back.
And I think Hazel says, no, we've had enough killing. Just go. And so they make it back to the down, and they have all these does. And it is this wonderful time for them. They do let that patrol go, and they are very good at tracking. And so it turns out they do follow them all the way up to the downs. So now the Afrafans know where they live.
Mm-hmm.
And they head back to tell Woundwort. But up on the down, they are happy. They are back. They have does. They're having kittens. The weather is good. It's like high summertime. It's all good right now.
Until the patrol shows up.
Well, what's interesting is that little mouse. That little mouse from
Saves
long
them again.
ago is chatting with Hazel in the summertime, sunshine as everyone is happy, and commenting on, "Oh, these new rabbits are your friends too." And nobody pays attention except Hazel. He's like, "What new rabbits?" Excuse me, what?
The mouse kind of tries to take it back because the rabbits say that the mice just try and say what they want to hear, and the mouse saw that this was unpopular, and he says, "Oh, there's no other rabbits, no other rabbits," but there clearly are other rabbits, and so this then becomes the danger. They know that Woundwort is there. He's approaching from a side where they never would have smelled him or seen him or known he was there until they got there, but now they have some advanced warning, and now the discussion starts on what do we do.
Yeah, so they start defending the warren. They block in holes and they have some knowledge about it. But Hazel decides to try at least to speak to them. He heads off on his own. He's this limping rabbit. I mean, he still is injured. His leg will never fully heal. He goes and tries to be an emissary of peace. He finds Woundwort. He's never met him. And he doesn't introduce himself particularly, but he says, "Hey, we have an opportunity here.
Yeah.
You guys are overcrowded. We're going to be soon. Okay, they're growing already. What if we made a warren in between ours and yours?" And there's a moment. It says Woundwort has a moment where he could have been a great leader.
Yeah.
He could have seen the vision. He could have embraced it. It's offered to him. And he says, "No, leave or I'll kill you." And he does let Hazel go back because, number one, he doesn't know that he's the chief.
No.
And number two, he's the emissary. Go tell them this, your terms are not accepted. I do think Woundwort is very annoyed to have lost his element of surprise, though.
Yeah.
He was counting on that being a quick win.
But he is so confident. He knows he's got this. And so he's not, yes, he's annoyed, but he's not really worried. And this is what he loves. He loves courage and bravery and domination and conquering, and so he's ready to go do it, and he's done it before. I mean, the Efrathans have taken over other warrens and brought them back to Ephrathah before, and so he's ready to start and he's ready to go, and he knows that the bird is gone, and the bird was something that he was worried about there for a while.
Yeah.
He comes, but Hazel and his little friends have been busy. They've been doing what they can to try and help protect and set up the warren, and they have started filling up their holes. So when the Efrathan rabbits come and start coming down into the holes, any one of the runs they come down, they're immediately faced by claws and teeth, and that's just not going to work. And so the decision gets made, well, I guess we go through the top. They're going to dig a hole straight through the top of the warren, and that's how they're going to get in, and they're going to kill everyone.
Yeah. I gotta say, this whole sequence is so well described. This is better to be read. I mean, we're trying here, but it is wonderful to read. Like, it is a page turner.
Yes.
As you see, like, this side and that side and what they're going to do. Like, the rabbits on top, they can tell there's a broad open space down below. And so they're digging straight down, but they're hitting tree roots. They try different points and the strategies on both sides. Like you say, there's military background here. It's funny to say that for rabbits, but you can see it on both sides. What's interesting, though, Fiver feels things, and he feels things deep. And so we see him in the burrow struggling. He feels this pain of the hate and turmoil between these rabbits. He makes some ungodly sound, and he freaks out the Efrathans above, like, that ain't a rabbit.
Yeah.
And he passes out. He's in like a prophetic coma, but it's not going well. Hazel knows it's just a matter of time before they break through. And suddenly he too has a vision, a memory of a dog attached to a rope, tied with a rope. He knows how to chew through a rope. He did it with the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells Bigwig, "You stay here. You defend this place." They have kittens already. There are babies in this warren.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Bluebell's in the back telling stories to keep the babies and the does calm. They're so sweet. So Bigwig is the defender, but Hazel takes a couple of the rabbits and he runs down the hill.
Yeah.
The Efrathans think, oh, they're just running. They're scared. They're escaping, right? Like, let them go. The problem's here. No, Hazel has a plan.
And I tell you what, if I thought Bigwig was awesome in El-ahrairah and through the whole journey, he is just incredible right here.
100%.
Because what they do is they back all the rabbits that are left in the burrow back off of the Great Hall, off of the honeycomb, and they basically make a single mound and hole where Bigwig is going to defend. They actually close it off, but they know that the other rabbits are going to be able to dig through it. And Bigwig is there in the gap where they've got to go through him. He's smart, though, because he knows how strong Woundwort is. And so he's talking with Holly, this old campaigner, about, like, what can we do? And Holly is talking about the slack run in the old warren. So it was this deep trench that was designed for defense where they could go underneath enemies. And Bigwig says, yes, that's it. So he digs a hole and buries himself in the hole and waits for Woundwort to come down. So the El-ahrairah rabbits are digging. The hole in the top of the honeycomb is getting bigger and bigger, and finally there's not much left. And Woundwort goes first. He is ready to go and kill, and he's ready to get jumped as soon as he gets down in there. So he launches down, and he's in the honeycomb. He's never seen anything like this. This huge underground burrow. What is this? He doesn't know. But he's looking, waiting to be attacked, and there's nothing. There's just what looks to be a dead rabbit over on the ground. Fiver is just lying on the ground, not moving in the burrow. They had left him behind. Woundwort basically ignores him. He's got a few of his other companions with him. They start tapping around on the walls, and they see where Bigwig and the other rabbits are. And they start digging through, and Woundwort is ready to kill. He's ready to go and do this. And this is where Bigwig, again, is just so awesome, because Woundwort goes through, and Bigwig comes up from the ground, and they do combat. They fight. I mean, this is jujitsu with teeth and claws for the life of the warren. And Bigwig holds his own, and nobody holds their own against Woundwort.
Never has.
And it keeps going back and forth where one has the advantage and then the other has the advantage. But at the end, they're just left panting, where Woundwort is injured, Bigwig's injured, Woundwort is outside. He keeps trying to talk Bigwig into just giving up. He says, come back. I'll make you an officer. I'll give you whatever you want. And Bigwig realizes, no, he's just trying to get me out of the way. And Bigwig also knows that if he dies in this opening, they're going to have a hard time getting through him. So he is there and will not move.
Just standing at the line.
And then I love it, because as Woundwort is trying to, coax him out, he says, no, my chief rabbit told me to stay here. And until he tells otherwise, I'm staying. This freaks Woundwort out. He assumed Bigwig was the chief rabbit. How could he not be? He'd never seen a rabbit that could beat him in a fight. So there must be another bigger, stronger rabbit somewhere. And this finally has too much to say. It breaks Woundwort, but this terrifies him.
Just the prospect that there's something bigger and badder than Bigwig out there still to contend with. And they do, I think he launches at Bigwig for kind of a final threat, because it says he's always been able to win using his weight. And he tries, and Bigwig is struggling. He's receding down this run, but suddenly the pressure slackens. And eventually Woundwort falls off him. And it turns out Bigwig has hurt him enough. He can't breathe. The blood is filling his nostril. He's unable to breathe. He can't withstand anymore. So Woundwort backs out. He backs out of the tunnel. He backs up the hole. He tells his second in command, you go. Just finish him off.
Yeah.
It's almost done. You take care of it. Wrap it up.
And they start to see the weakness. They had never thought they would see weakness, and so they're not going to go do it. I mean, it's just a fascinating thing to watch this develop. And then we're going to get to Hazel in a moment, but I love this next thing that happens in the burrow. One of Woundwort's rabbits is his chief killer, right? He's his guy. And all of a sudden, Fiver wakes up. This rabbit they think is dead wakes up. And Woundwort tells this, monster rabbit next to him, go kill him. And Fiver isn't acting scared at all. And he says this. Fiver looks at these other rabbits and says, I am sorry for you with all my heart. but you cannot blame us, for you came to kill us if you could. Blame you? Answered Vervain. That's the name of the other rabbit. Blame you for what? For your death. Believe me, I am sorry for your death. That is creepy. That is not what this rabbit was expecting to hear. This tiny child is basically apologizing for his death, and he's out. He can't handle this anymore. And so he doesn't kill Fiver. And there's just terror going on in the burrow. Meanwhile, Hazel has a plan this time. It wasn't Blackberry who had the plan. I think he takes him with him, but he posts him up like halfway down the hill. And Dandelion, also a fast rabbit, just outside the farm. Hazel explains the plan to them very quickly. Hey, I'm going to release this dog, and you have to make sure it follows you. Hazel's not fast. He has a limp ongoing, but he can cut the rope. He has to follow you up the hill. This is the plan, that this dog follows them up the hill to destroy these other rabbits for them. And Hazel does it. He gets on top of this crate. He chews through the rope. He doesn't quite get it cut through. But the dog starts barking, and he snaps it, and he chases after Dandelion. The problem is it shakes the box. Hazel falls to the ground, lands on his bad leg, and a cat gets on top of him. It's creepy too. The cat's like, "Can you run?" I think not. And that's where it stops. And then they leave. We don't know what happens. But the other rabbits and Dandelion, they do it.
Oh, I love Dandelion's perspective, because this dog is way faster than he expected. And he's not leading the dog anywhere. He's just flying for his life. He's running as fast as he can. But as he slows, the dog slows. And it's interesting, at some point the dog loses interest and is kind of lollygagging along, and they're like, no, this cannot stand. This is not, moments matter here. Their friends are dying potentially up the hill. So they bait this dog up the hill as they go. And I think Woundwort's on top when they see the dog come at them, and his rabbits scatter. And I love how Woundwort stands there. He's like, dogs aren't dangerous. Come back.
Because it's Woundwort. Again, he is a brave rabbit. He's insane, but he stands up and fights against this dog. But Woundwort isn't going to trouble the warren again. The dog has come, and Hazel's plan has worked.
Yeah, a few of the Fraffins run down a hole.
Fiver takes the prisoner.
Yeah,
Little Fiver takes the prisoner and brings them to Bigwig. So good.
Yeah. It's excellent. The whole thing is great. The next chapter is called Deus Ex Machina. Did I say it right? My Latin is not good.
So I love this, and let me digress slightly. Deus Ex Machina is a classic Latin phrase, usually in the theater world, but also in literature, that literally means the machine out of the god. So this is based out of the old Greek tragedies and plays, where this machine, this contraption would come down, a god would show up, and would just kind of solve everything, would settle the problem. So it's used as basically a final resolution, a way of rounding up things that you couldn't solve in another way.
Yeah, the example I have is from Shakespeare's As You Like It, where at the end the god Hymen, the god of marriage, appears in the final act to resolve the romantic entanglements.
Yeah, totally.
But it's a common thing, right? In Chesterton, you said they couldn't use it, where things out of the blue, right?
Yeah. This is Dea Ex Machina. So the goddess out of the machine, which is just so clever, because what happens next?
We switch to a person's perspective. This little girl at the farm named Lucy wakes up, and because she hears a sound. There's some squealing. It doesn't fit. She wakes up, this little girl, and she looks outside, and she sees the cat has something. The cat is attacking something and is squealing. And she yells at it. Cat, the vernacular is great. Like, what you got? Kind of an accent thing. But she goes and she saves this rabbit. The rabbits from the hutch had been hers. Those were her bunnies. She loves them. She finds Hazel, this wild rabbit.
Yeah, wild.
It is clearly injured, but this is the Dea, the goddess, the little girl.
She saves him.
She saves Hazel.
And not just from the cat, because she shows Hazel to her dad, and her dad's a farmer, and he's like, yeah, that's a wild rabbit. It'll die in a hutch. You can't keep it, and you're probably best if we just kill it and eat it. She is not having any of that. She wants to show it to the doctor. And the doctor is a sport. She ends up showing him to the doctor. The doctor looks at Hazel's leg and says, well, he's got an old injury here, but no, he should be fine for all that. But her dad doesn't want him dropped anywhere near the farm because rabbits steal. They'll come and steal things. And so the doctor says, tell you what, I've got a case out here. Why don't you hop in the car with me? We'll take him out and we'll drop him away from the farm. And it's wonderful because this vision of the rabbit riding in a car happens. And not only that, they drop him off like right next to home, exactly where he wants to be. And Hazel is saved and the Warren is saved and Woundwort is defeated. I really, like you said, you've just got to read this because the flow of this is so good. It's so good.
Yeah, highly recommend. Always have. Every time I read it, it's still so good. And the ending is basically the wrap up where there's lots of little big wigs everywhere. You know, there's babies everywhere. Bigwig is training little baby bunnies to be Ausla and to attack fictitious cats, you know. they're all older and wiser. They're just all such themselves as they go along. Hazel's full authority. What's really great is the El-ahrairahs, they find a better leader, a more collaborative leader, and they do establish a warren in between the El-ahrairah warren and their home warren on the Downs, and it's positive for all. It becomes this collaborative, happy ending. It's wonderful.
Yeah, is what Hazel recommended to Woundwort to begin with. And I also love that all the rabbits that surrendered to Fiver become part of the warren. They become part of the group.
I like that Woundwort becomes a story.
Yeah.
Nobody saw the body. So they come up with stories about this. They scare baby bunnies with the idea of this general out there somewhere. I feel like if he was alive, he would never have let them go. So it's still a good story.
Well, it wraps up finally where Hazel is old. Hazel is old. And somebody comes to him. A rabbit comes to him, sneaks past the sentries. Nobody sees this rabbit come. And he asks Hazel, you know me, don't you? Hazel says, yes, of course, said Hazel, hoping he would be able to remember his name in a moment. Then he saw that in the darkness of the burrow, the stranger's ears were shining with a faint silver light. Yes, my lord, he said, I know you. El-ahrairah comes to take him, and Hazel becomes a part of his Ausla. It's great. This is a fantastic story. We tell a lot of good stories, and I hope you live a lot of good stories as well. There is a proverb that the rabbits use that I want to end on here involving good stories. Here is the proverb from the rabbits. Our children's children will hear a good story. And with that, we'll turn the page, and we hope you join us for our next chapter.